Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to welcome you all to the Somerville Zoning Board of Appeals for Wednesday, July the 31st, 2024. For the record, it is 6:09. And joining us, let me do my pursuant to Chapter 2 of the Acts of 2023. This meeting of the Somerville Zoning Board of Appeals will be conducted via remote participation. A recording of these proceedings can be accessed at any time using the registration link at the bottom of this agenda. Joining us tonight on the board members is Zach Zaremba, Ann Brockelman. Ann Brockelman is our clerk, filling in tonight, and she's our vice chair. Cece Daglian, Brian Cook, and I'm your chair, Ursula Susan Fontano. Tonight we have some minutes under general business. There's really nothing to take care of. And we're going to jump right to the approval of minutes for July 17th, 2024. So with the vice chair, would you please read that make a motion?
Yes, I make the motion to approve the minutes of July 17th, 2024, as submitted.
May I have a second, please?
Seconded.
We have a second? Seconded by Zach Zaremba. All in favor? Seconded, thank you. All in favor, as we go around, please say yay or nay, or if you have any comments. Cece Daglian?
Yay.
Joanne? Brian Cook?
Yay.
Ann Brockelman?
Yes.
Zach Zaremba?
Yes.
And Susan Fontano, yes. Let the record show the motion passed unanimously. Next, under the public hearing, we have 20 Fisk Ave. This is a continuance from July 17, 2024. Are you folks here? Joanne? I don't think my plug's in.
This is Andrew speaking. I am going to please use the raise hand feature if you're part of the applicant
white plug,
team,
I don't think it's in the wall.
and I will promote you to panelist. Chair Fontano, this is Andrew speaking. I'm promoting a Chris Tesluk to be panelist.
Got it. Okay. I was sorry. I was just having a little problem with my plug. Okay. Okay. Thank you. Good evening, Chris. Welcome.
Good evening. Thanks for having us back.
You're welcome. So, okay. Yep. You're going to speak tonight. I think I got a little shortness over here. Everybody's going to start off. You have 10 minutes to use however you'd like. We have a large agenda tonight, a lot of important cases such as yours. Yours especially, it's been brought back, continuing. So make the best with what you have, please.
We'll try to keep it short and sweet. Thanks all for having us. Again, my name's Chris and Brockett. My spouse, we own 20 Fisk Avenue. And yes, we are. Oh, can I share? Is that okay? It says it's not turned on.
This is Andrew speaking. Give me a second and I'll allow you to share your screen.
Thank you. It's coming.
This is Andrew speaking. Chris, you should be able to now.
Fabulous. Thanks. Okay. Right, so we'll try to keep it tight. I know you all have a lot to do. So we've, again, this is the current view of our home at 20 Fisk Avenue. You can see the small dormer there on the, what would that be? West-ish side of the house. And here is what we are proposing. It's just under 30 feet long shed dormer versus 46.5 for the total ridge length. Looking at that third floor, I know this is super busy, but I just tried to highlight some of the key dimensions. You might recall the dormer went within a foot or two of the end of the house. So now from a percentage standpoint, it's about 56% of the total ridge length. We're keeping the same roughly 5.5 foot setback from the front. Couldn't really improve on that. We could have improved on that. It would have been just adding more headroom that we don't really need over the stairs, but we would rather have that space over here to create passageway into the back bedroom, allows a small space for a laundry closet. And a key item maybe we didn't touch on last time, but we do want this little space here for an office, which is kind of currently what we use this back space for right now. I think it'd be a little hard for us to get 3 feet of non-window wall still. We could probably improve on the dimensions that are shown here to an extent, but we're still also asking for the relief on the 3 foot maximum of non-window wall. I think there will be plenty of windows, even with 5.5 feet of non-window wall. So
Excuse me,
same
Chris,
discussion
can
as
I
last time. Yes,
Chris,
please.
and the timer, take this in consideration, please. Can you highlight, you went away and you were gonna try and make some adjustments. Can you speak to us firstly on what you altered or changed or what might be an improvement to us? Can you
Sure.
highlight all that stuff first? Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you, staff.
So essentially, what we changed was eliminating this approximately 10 feet of dormer that was on the back. And that creates, what that's going to make is that the full ceiling height in this back bedroom is only this width here. The red line is where the sloped ceiling starts. The total width here is 10.5 feet. So I don't know, that's about 7 or something. And we can work with that. It's not awesome, but if that's what we got to do, that's what we can do. So that's really the one and only change, is that we've lopped off as much as we really can. The problem is there's a chimney right here. If we moved it farther back, then you really can't have a walkway going this way into the back bedroom. So that's why really the line ends, the dormer ends here, is to create some headroom here. You can see that the red dotted line again is going to be the sloped roof and the lack of the full. And when I say full, it's 7'3" ceiling. So it is low to begin with at the peak. So that's really driving that. So that is the change. It's pretty simple. We were at what, 70, I think we're asking for 75, 77% in terms of the ridge length of the 44.5 feet. And I think we can go to make this plan viable, really no lower than 56%.
And 56 feet with now.
I'm sorry, you broke up there a little bit. Can you repeat the question?
It went from 77% on the dormer field for the roof to 56%.
That is correct.
Okay, all right. And so what else you want to share with us tonight? Is there anything else you'd like to elaborate on, make it clearer to us?
We'll take your questions. I think it's pretty straightforward, especially if there's anything that's not, I know you guys go through a lot of material. You probably just don't remember our little dormer, but yeah, we're ready for your questions, I think.
Okay, thank you so much. So I believe we left the public portion open tonight, the last meeting, July 17th. Is anybody in the public hear from the public that's with us and would like to add or ask some questions, or maybe they weren't in attendance the last time and they have something clarified?
This is Andrew speaking. If you're a member of the public and would like to make a comment, please raise your hand. I see an Aaron Weber, Madam Chair.
Yes,
I'll allow to speak.
thank you.
Hi, my name is Aaron Weber. I live at 32 Summit Avenue. I'm in support of this proposal. When the 2019 zoning ordinance was adopted, it was regarded as a version 1.0 that might need changes in the future. This is not the first dormer-related zoning variance that I have been aware of and have been informed about by friends. And it is clear that our dormer rules don't quite match the reality on the ground. This is exactly the sort of thing that the Zoning Board of Appeals should apply discretion to enable people to make greater use of their homes. I think this is a great idea. It seems like it won't have any significant negative impacts to anyone outside of the house, and I think we should just approve it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Weber. Anyone else from the public, raise your hand so that staff can let you speak to us.
Chair Fontano, this is Andrew speaking. I'm not seeing anyone else with their hand raised at this time.
Okay, thank you. Before I close the public portion, I'm going to open it up to the board. If you have any additional comments to be made. You know what I was going to ask the applicant to do? Can you show us the visual of your house with the new dormer in place? Do you have that handy?
Is this what you were referring to? Oh, I'm not sharing anymore. Sorry. Yeah, let me do that. This image?
Yes, yes. So tell me something. You cut it off of the back, correct?
That is right.
Okay. All right. So I'm opening it up to the board. Does anybody have any comments or questions, or what do you think about this modification? No one has a comment? Are you ready to vote tonight?
I can comment, Madam Chair.
Ms. Brockelman?
I will say that I will be voting in the affirmative. I really do appreciate the applicant going back and making a good faith and best effort to comply with the zoning ordinance. And I do really see that the ask is where you, it's almost is impossible to comply based on the architectural layout of the existing house. It does look like a dormer, which is really what we want to preserve, right? Which is 2 stories with a large dormer, and that's fine, as opposed to looking like a 3-story building. So thank you for your efforts. Looks great.
Thank you, Ann. Anybody else on the board have a comment before we ask for a vote? No? All right, at this moment, I'd like to close the public portion unless anybody else has raised their hand. Andrew, can we do one last shout out, please?
Yes, we Councilor Say actually is here to say something, so I'll allow her to speak.
Beautiful. Welcome.
Councilor, you should be able to speak.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for the opportunity. This is Naima Saeed, the Ward 5 councillor. I would like to speak in support of the proposal. I do not see any negative impact on the neighborhood, and I encourage the board to vote in favor of the proposal.
Great, thank you. Anyone else?
This is Andrew speaking. I am not seeing anyone else at this time, Madam Chair.
Okay, so at this time, I will close the public portion of the 20 Fisk Ave ZP 24-00003. And I'll open it up to the board for any final comments. If no one has any, if you have one, raise your hand. If you don't, we'll close the board portion as well and make a motion for a vote. We're all set? All right.
Brian
Uh,
Cook, Madam Chair, this is Andrew speaking. I see Member Cook has his hand up.
Oh, okay, good. Hello.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just, we're gonna have to go through the criteria. So I just was going to ask for clarification on meeting the second criterion, which has to do with financial hardship.
Is it financial hardship or just hardship in general due to circumstances?
No, it's quite clear that, well, on number 2, it's the literal enforcement of the provision. Yeah. Findings. Would staff person like to weigh in on this? On the criteria for the hardship variance? The question is on number 2, I believe.
Yeah.
Is that what you're questioning, Brian? Number 2?
Yes, number 2 references financial or other hardships. So I wanted to be clear about what we're going to say about the proposal meeting the criterion. Because that tends to be, in my view, the most difficult one for variance requests to meet. So I want to make sure that we have good language for addressing that criterion.
If I can offer, there's 3 items really. There's a safety issue. We need to rebuild those stairs to the 3rd floor. So they need to be relocated. Secondly, it's a 1-bedroom unit right now, and not being able to wedge a proper 2nd bedroom really does suppress, the value. I mean, our first priority honestly is the utility of our home, but first, certainly the value of it as well.
So, Ian, you'd be making the motion. Have you worked on the verbiage, what you're gonna say?
Through the chair, I also wanted to ask, if there are 2 variances, do we sum them together, or do we also have to take them separately? Therefore, we would be making 6 points.
I think you do them separately, but I think that the 3 points we make, if they're applicable, 1, 2, or 3, you just repeat it for the record. Is that correct, staff?
This is Andrew speaking. Yes, in the case that there's 2 hardship variances in front of the board, there needs to be 2 votes.
And we can, when it applies, revisit the 3 criteria we met for the first.
Correct. The
Unless
criteria can
something's
be the
different.
same,
Right.
Determination, but there does need to be 2 votes because it's 2 separate hardship variances.
Great, thank you. Ian, okay with you? You got that? Thank you. So, If everybody's ready and when you're prepared, you let me know and we'll ask for the motion.
Yeah, so another clarification question, relief from the maximum cumulative width and maximum face width. Staff, are those the two variances? Or are we specific with no more than 36 inches wider than the non-window wall? And then, may not exceed 50% of the length of the roof eave?
Hey, Madison Anthony from staff here. Yes, I believe those are the variances. One is for the length and one is for the length in relation to the eave.
Okay. Okay, so the first one, I'll give it a go.
All right, 1 second. So first we have to have a motion
Mhm.
in the matter of, could I have a motion, please? For the
Yes.
matter of 20 Fisk.
In the matter of 20 Fisk Ave, ZBA case ZB 24-3, I make a motion to approve the first hardship variance, which is that the dormer width approve the relief from the dormer width being over 50% of the total eave length of the roof. Does that make sense? Here it's 56% requested.
So what is it? Is it 50 or 56?
They're asking for 6% more.
Right.
So the considerations, number
Right.
one, special circumstances that exist relating to the soil condition, shape, or topography of the land, or the unusual character of the existing structure. The unusual character of the existing structure is that it only has one bedroom. It's quite a tight layout of the existing building. Two, literal enforcement of the provision of this ordinance would involve substantial hardship, financial or otherwise. Again, it's the internal workings of the architectural plan, the placement of the existing stair, which they're rebuilding, the chimney and the slope of the roof, which makes it hard to create a viable second bedroom without exceeding the 50% allowed ratio. And desirable relief could be granted without causing substantial detriment to the public good. It still reads as a two-story house with a dormer on top. So the reading of the massing is consistent with the fabric of this zoning area.
Great. Thank you. May I have a second on the motion, please?
Seconded.
Seconded by Zach Zaremba. All in favor as I go around? Yay for the approval of the hardship variance. So we have Zach Zaremba,
Yes.
Brian Cook,
Yes, for the variance on the dormer length.
right, we're doing separate right now. Cece Daglian,
Yay.
Susan Fontano, yay. Let the record show that on the first variance for the dormer length, It was approved all unanimously 5-0. Now may we have a motion on the second hardship variance?
Yes, in the matter of 20 Fisk Ave, I make a motion to approve the hardship variance. For the width of the dormer for non-compliance. Where the article where shed dormers are required to be no more than 36 inches wider than the non-window wall.
And we're gonna apply the criteria that you just said before. Would you say it again, please, for the record?
Yes, we'll apply the same, we feel like the same criteria, the 3 criteria listed, apply to this variance as well.
Okay. May I have a second on the motion? It's on the matter of 20 Fisk Ave, hardship number 2.
Second.
Seconded by Cece Daglian. All in favor, please say yes. Zach Zaremba,
Yes.
Cece Daglian,
Yes.
Ryan Cook,
Yes.
Ann Brockelman,
Yes,
and Susan Fontano, yes. Let the record show on the second hardship variance, which is for the rationale for the non-window wall, 3 feet, all approved, 5 in favor. Thank you. To the Fitz family, good luck. Enjoy it.
Thank you very
Thank you.
much. Appreciate
Okay.
y'all's time.
Thank you. Our next case up this evening is 10 Bedford Street.
This is Zach Zamemba speaking. I received a message from the planning board that I can't vote on this matter tonight as I was absent from the last meeting. I received the materials yesterday during the day and I had not had a chance to review them as I did not realize I received them. So I have to recuse myself from this matter tonight.
Okay. In the future, could we get a little bit notification earlier? In the day even today would have helped, all right? We've got other people gonna be off other cases tonight, and I never want to have a conflict. All right, so let me try and clear this here. Where am I? So,
Chair Fontano, this is Andrew speaking.
yes, Andrew.
Suggestion, Zach, for you that you just go off screen when the case is being discussed. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thanks, Andrew, for that. I forgot about that. All right. So 10 Bedford Street. I can't get out of my window here. Here we go. So this case that we'll call in next has been opened. It's 10 Bedford Street, ZP 24-00033. This is a administrative appeal. Would you folks come on board so we can see you and go forward?
This is Andrew speaking. For both the appellant and the property owners, please raise your hand if you are speaking tonight so we can promote you. Thank you.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Hello.
Hi.
Hello. I just want to go over last week for 1 minute I want to apologize to anybody if I misunderstood on the timing. And I think Andrew just said that you folks are gonna get 10 minutes, plus all the public can speak. And you can use it any way you want if you need assistance from anybody else. Ms. Moore, we got all we're up to date on all supplemental attachments from staff. Got them on a very timely basis this week. So whoever wants to speak, please do.
Yeah. So we will make a presentation, if you don't object. We will elaborate on some of the points which were not clear, and we'll also comment on the developers' arguments, if it's okay.
So you've got 10 minutes.
Okay.
Okay, so because you don't want to rehash, we have all your information that you sent us. So if you have some little stronger, newer ideas for us to look at or
Yes.
suggestions, but you use the time however you want to see fit. And I don't want to rush you, so you know,
Yes.
just I hope it's good.
We will remind you, we're about
Okay.
10 Bedford Street.
So we'll
Thank you.
myself and my spouse. So we are abutters. As you recall, this is an apartment building type that was proposed. The zone we are living in is the urban residential, and at the status currently of their site next to us is they completed demolition of a small garage that was on the back of the corner of the lot and the excavation of the lot. And the claim we have is that the building is not allowed by the Somerville zoning ordinance. Just to recap again very quickly, this is the 10 Bedford current state of the lot next to us. We are at 16 South Street, which is a 3-family home. This is a corner lot. It's South Street and Bedford Street. So their lot is a corner lot.
Do you see our pointer?
I don't
Yes.
know if they can
Okay.
see it.
Yes.
Yes.
The proposed building, this is an overlay of the building as it would sit on the lot, we call it a boot-shaped lot. And again, it's an apartment building, which requires certain things in the UR zone. And those things we will list and what it violates based on our assessment and review with some experts. So here's requirements for a UR and this type of building. Well, the minimum lot width is to be 55. And the thing about it, because it's a corner lot, my spouse will go into detail, it actually has 2 widths. And we will show where in the zoning it says it does. And while it meets the 88 here, 2 widths, the second width doesn't meet. It's a 40-foot width because it's a corner lot. So that's the South Street up here. The lot depth, we actually analyzed it over the last 2 weeks in addition, and we found that lot depth is also not met. It's in fact 68 feet depth based on the SZO definition. 1 parking space per unit would be required for a 6-unit building. As we mentioned, 4 are provided, 2 are claimed on the street. This is not a residential street, the South Street where it's claimed to be. You know, that would not allow them to claim them if it's by right. Rear setback required for this type of building is 10 feet. We will go through why well, they claim 5 feet would be sufficient. That's not the case. And then also we talked about the encroachment on the front. This is the front lot line, primary front lot line, and it encroaches the overhang. Moving on, so this just points out all the spots that we mentioned. One of the letters we did receive back when was that we don't have standing, well, being the abutters, as we mentioned, blocking all the light, blocking our clock, really making it difficult to maintain our building with a 5-foot clearance. It certainly is a difficulty for us. So that's the recap. And I'm not going to go through it to keep us. I just want to ask if there's any questions. From what I went quickly.
Did the board right at this point have any questions for the appellates? When you went away last week, 2 weeks ago, did you have a couple of questions you might have jotted down for those folks?
We will continue then to elaborate on some of the nuances here.
And is your attorney or architect, anybody here you want us to hear from?
Yeah, I am here. Madam Chair.
Yes, David.
I just didn't want to, I wanted to wait till they were finished. It sounds like they are finished. Is that right?
We are not finished yet. No, no.
Okay, I'll wait till you're finished.
Okay. So I'll let my spouse talk about the lot width issue.
I will elaborate and go into detail regarding dimensions and lot lines of this project. Just bear with me, it's because it's lots and not conformant. It's so not conformant, I need to really go into Somerville zoning ordinance, how they define lots, lot lines, lot widths, and to make it clear. And so this is a screenshot of a two lot standards definitions from zoning ordinance. The lot width is defined as a length of a front lot line of a lot. So it's important to notice that it's not a length of a primary front lot line. So there are primary front lot lines and secondary front lot lines. However, the lot width is defined as a length of a front line. So it is both front lot line, primary and secondary. And just before that, corner lots have two front lines. So intent of the Somerville zoning ordinance is to have two lot widths because there are two front lot lines, and this means there are two lot widths. That's the way how basically that's the way how I see. And please note, for example, as contrast to lot depth, it's measured between the primary front lot line. So when zoning ordinance is means it, they can be specific, prescribing it primary. But in this case, it's deliberate that the front lot line and results in lot width. And this means that corner lots have two lot widths. I hope that I made it very clear. And so what happens with our lot is that as the zoning ordinance prescribes, this lot has two lot widths. One is due to the South Street front lot line, which is a secondary front lot line, and Bedford Street, which is primary front lot line. However, the definition doesn't say anything about primary lot width. There is no such a thing. These lot widths are basically treated the same. There are two indistinguishable lot widths, and owners do not really can choose which one should satisfy or not. All dimensional requirements say if you have a side setback, if a lot has two side setbacks, both should be satisfied. If a lot has, by the same token, if a lot has two lot widths, both should be satisfied. It's the conformance is any lot width is there should be conformant. I hope that this clarifies the situation. The argument of a developer is that they take this primary lot line and they claim that this is enough just to satisfy one lot width for conformance. And this is not the intent of Somerville zoning ordinance. In this case, the lot width would have been defined as the primary length of a primary front lot line, but it doesn't define it this way. The intent is to have two lot widths. And as any relevant measure, both should be conformant. And so that, I hope that disproves the argument of the developers. For this building type, which is the biggest type that is allowed for the zone, minimum lot width is 55 feet. So the lot width along the South Street is not met, and this lot is not conformant with regard to lot width. So I will go now to the next issue. If you have any questions, please let me know. And is the speed okay? And let me know too. So I will go to the issue of setbacks. So the development is positioned 5 feet away from lot lines. And developers' argument is that they provide 5 feet as side setback instead of the proper rear setback, because these are on the argument that these are side lot lines. Well, this is not the intent of Somerville zoning ordinance. And the way how the zoning ordinance defines setbacks is contextual. And the key is this picture. On this is a depiction from zoning ordinance for the UR zone. And you can see that the rear setback is depicted as the opposite of a primary front setback. And the lot line here on the back, it's as I will discuss later, it doesn't say that this is maybe a rear lot line or maybe not. In fact, it depends on the arrangement of a abutting lot. If this is an abutting lot, if this is a side lot line of abutting lot, this is a side lot line. So really, Somerville zoning ordinance is prescriptive in this regard, saying that, well, rear setback is enforced as opposed to primary front setback. This is the way how I read it. And secondary setback gives rise to the side setback. It's the opposite as a side. So in this regard, the way how I understand is the primary front lot line is the rear setback should be imposed as opposite of the rear as a primary front lot line. Sorry, am I too fast? So the development only provides 5, but the rear setback should be 10. As I mentioned, actually this line is a rear lot line. So developers are incorrect in this regard. So if they, in case they really insist on rear setbacks being determined by lot lines, the Somerville zoning ordinance does not prescribe this. It doesn't say that rear lot lines will mean rear setbacks, but if that's the way they read, it still requires 10-foot setback. But the way how I read it, the Somerville zoning ordinance just say that rear setbacks are applicable as opposed to primary front lot line. So this makes this development non-conformant to rear setbacks, no matter how we put it. So now it's an issue of lot depth. We just discovered, because we were digging again and again, because it's such a non-conformant lot, it was tough for us.
I think it's tough for anyone to go through this. So we found a new issue, which is the lot depth, which was measured. So if you look at the Somerville zoning ordinance, and you look again at the definitions of lot depth, it is measured as the horizontal distance between the midpoint of the primary front lot line. Here is the Bedford Street one, and the midpoint of the rear lot line. Now, that's where the trickiness is, because what is the rear lot line in this lot? So as we reviewed the rules of the Somerville zoning ordinance, we discovered something. So again, this is what the developers claim. This is the primary front lot line. This is the rear, per their claim, lot line, and these are the midpoints. So they say this is more than 90, which would meet the requirement. Now the key is here. Now the issue is that, is this really the rear lot line? So just also to add to this, the intent of the depth is to really give you a picture on a rectilinear lot, so-called, which looks more or less like a rectangle. This lot looks like a boot. It's not quite a rectilinear lot, but it has even deeper issues because of this merger, with this merger that happened between these lots, creating the boot. It made it really hard to interpret, although it still kind of works, the zoning ordinance. Now, if you were to measure the way they think it's fine to put a 6-unit, 4-story building on a lot this size, but right now it's as if it contains our house as well. Now, why do we claim this is not the lot depth? You want to go ahead?
So I will describe what is actually, how can we find the rear lot line? So our claim is that this is not a rear lot line. And the answer is we need to go at the definitions of Somerville zoning ordinance. This is the relevant definitions. So rear lot line is any lot line which is within 45 degrees of being parallel to a front lot line. Let's note, it's not primary front lot line, but any lot line. It's important because there is a front lines can be primary or can be secondary. So if a line is within 45 degrees parallel to either primary or secondary, it would be satisfying the first condition. And the second condition is that unless that lot line is a side lot line of another abutting lot. So in order to be a rear lot line, a lot line should be within 45 degrees parallel to a front lot line, primary or secondary, but it cannot be a side lot line of abutting lot. So let's figure out where are lot lines of this lot. Let's first start with the one which developer suggests, that this blue line would be the rear lot line. So is it? Well, it satisfies the first condition. It's within 45-degree parallel to the primary front lot line. However, it is a side lot line of this lot, which is 39 Porter Street in Cambridge. It has frontage on Porter Street. It's a side lot line of that lot. It cannot be either front lot line or a rear lot line because it's not within 45 degrees to a frontage. So this is very important because developers claim that this is a rear lot line of actually number 9, 6 Bedford Street. But they made a mistake saying that this is actually not the lot line of the 6 Bedford Street. That stretch, this stretch, is not a lot line of 6 Bedford Street. 6 Bedford Street starts over here, not over, it doesn't extend over here. So the line in question, abutting lot, is lot number 13, and it's a side lot line of that lot. Therefore, this lot line is a side lot line. It's very important. So you cannot measure the depth to this line as a lot depth. Now, so where is the lot line then? Where is the rear lot line? Again, the definition is that it should be within 45-degree parallel to a front lot line, unless that lot line is a side lot line of abutting lot. So this is, we demarcated here all lines. So we have 3 side lot lines. And the rear lot line is this one in green. The rear lot line is within 45-degree parallel to a front lot line, which is a secondary lot line, which is totally admissible by Somerville zoning ordinance. As I mentioned, the Somerville zoning ordinance says that the rear lot line should be just parallel to a front lot line, either primary or secondary. So that first condition is satisfied by this. And it's also is abutting to 16 South Street, the rear lot line. So this is a rear lot line. So other side lot lines, this one, it cannot be because it abuts the side lot line of 16 South Street. And this one is a side lot line, it abuts 6 Bedford Street. And it's a side lot line too, there. So this is the kind of analysis, unfortunately, it's complicated, but that's what the zoning mandates to do. And here I illustrated that this rear lot line is indeed satisfies the first condition. It's within 45 degrees to front lot line, which is a secondary front lot line on South Street, and abuts rear lot line of 16 South Street. It's a rear lot line. And the lot depth is measured as the horizontal distance between the midpoint of a primary front lot line and the midpoint of a rear lot line. In this case, this is this blue length of this blue arrow over here between the midpoint of a primary front lot line and the midpoint of a rear lot line. This length is about 68 feet. However, the zoning, in order to build this building, construct this type of a building, the zoning requirement is 90 feet. This lot is not conformant with regards to both lot width and lot depth. I hope No, I hope I explained it clear. And I elaborated why the arguments of the developers by saying that this is actually rear lot line is incorrect, because this is a side lot line of a abutting lot.
So we just reiterate all the points we made, and we would ask for you to reconsider this perhaps permit to be issued incorrectly, and for the developers to redesign the project to actually conform to SZO, given all the things we brought up today. And I'm not gonna list it out because I know we are probably way over time already. I do want to bring up one, this is, I promised, last slide. I think, Susan, if you're speaking, you're on mute. So we just want to mention, this is across the street, and we started looking at that project as well. And there are similar curb setbacks and whatnot violated. We're just concerned that we wouldn't have worked on this until we saw what happened to the lot next to us. And we see a lot of violations. So we started the process because we don't want to set precedent where these types of ZBA regulations, the SZO regulations, are not being really analyzed properly, I would say. And we actually became semi-experts in this just because we cared and just went through it. We are both scientists, so and we found all these issues. So we would like you to reconsider this permit.
So yeah, just to clarify, we sent a letter to the ISD, and we hope to hear from them because this is a zoning issue, and with the property right across the street.
I apologize. This is Emily Hutchings. Through the chair, I would just like to make a note on this, Madam Chair, through you, if that's all right. I apologize for interrupting. Madam Chair, you're still on mute.
Emily, go ahead, please.
Yeah, I would encourage the applicant to stick to the appeal at hand, because this is not something that the ZBA is able to consider. They cannot consider other properties when looking at this particular administrative appeal.
Okay,
Thank
please
you.
ignore the comments.
Thank you.
Slide onwards.
All right, the applicants, I think, have gone over everything they had a little bit more. And I'm asking if the attorney would like to say something at this point. And it's, sir,
Thank you, Madam Chair.
if you need it.
Just very quickly, I think they covered most of it. I mean, my biggest issue with their appeal was the portion of it that they just addressed relative to the setbacks. I think that, obviously zoning, the purpose of zoning is density control. And I think to read these bylaws and bend these bylaws in favor of the developer is not just a manipulation of the bylaw, but somewhat of a perversion, especially given that these apparently these lots were joined for the sole purpose of trying to shoehorn that rear setback argument. I also wanted to point out very quickly that these dimensions are governed obviously by 3.2.10, which is the apartment building setback requirements. And if we're going to ignore the secondary frontage or width, I should say, under your terms, I think what's good for the goose is good for the gander. You do have a size requirement of 5 feet at least. That's just an ancillary argument. So they would need to have 5 feet setback on South Street. They don't have any. It's hard against the boundary. So that's another issue. And one other thing I wanted to mention was that this is it wasn't mentioned in the presentation, is this is a what I would consider a flag lot under your glossary, which is and under that definition, only the pole or post portion of the lot is used to measure lot width. So obviously this is 10 Bedford Street. So that's going to be the side for the primary frontage. So anyway, I think they've covered things. I do think that this is a permit that should never have been issued. And I think that they're well within their rights to ask the board to consider their appeal very strongly. That's all I have.
Thank you very much. Could I have my screen back, please, folks?
Yes,
Yes, of
sorry.
course.
Beautiful, thank you. Now I can see all the players again. Now, I think I left the public portion open. Is there, Andrew, is there anyone, or Emily? Is there anyone here from the public that would like to speak to 10 Bedford?
Madam Chair, through you, this is Emily Hutchings. Would you like to permit the property owner to provide their presentation first, or would you like to take public testimony first?
No, I think we'll go right to the defendant, the property owner. I think we'll do that, and the public will have a chance to listen to both sides and they can comment. Who's here tonight? Oh, Mr. DiBiase, I see, and Valerie, and Tanya. I don't believe, who's Tanya? What is your role in this?
Architect?
You're the architect
Yes,
for Mr. DiBiase's
correct.
with that team? Okay,
Yes.
thank you. All right, good. So, now listen, you can, Mr. DiBiase, you're the defendant, so you get to speak. You can allot to have your attorney or the architect to speak for you. And, I don't mean to be disrespectful, but we don't need to go over everything we did the last meeting. You can highlight a couple things you think are really important or that we might have missed, or if you have any new information, we're willing to hear from you. So you have the floor. You do whatever you like to do.
Good evening, Madam Chair. My name is Valerie Moore from Nutter, McLennan and Fish here on behalf of the defendant property owner. My address is 155 Seaport Boulevard in Boston. I'm glad that the petitioners brought up the issue of precedent this evening, because I do want to make the board aware that the decision you make tonight can have far-reaching consequences. While it might be tempting to think that this impacts only one project, if the board decides to change how ISD has consistently interpreted and applied the plain language of the Somerville zoning ordinance, you run the risk of creating nonconformities throughout the city of Somerville. It's not just 10 Bedford Street and 16 to 20 Medford Street at issue with respect to the setback problem. The petitioners have also sent a threatening note to our client with respect to 366 Broadway, despite the fact that we don't own that project. So the decision you make tonight will set the precedent for how ISD interprets and applies the zoning ordinance throughout the city, particularly where this zoning ordinance hasn't yet been in effect for more than 6 years. None of the buildings that have been constructed under it would benefit from grandfathering. So certainly you'll be hearing quite a few more of these appeals should you decide to overturn the decision of ISD. The nature of the project wasn't really discussed at the last hearing, so I do want to remind the board that this is a 6-unit residential condominium project, and it includes an affordable unit. Homeownership units that are affordable are extremely rare, and they're even more rare when they're constructed as of right. So it is really important that the board uphold ISD's determination. The developer here worked with ISD over several months to determine the appropriate application of the zoning ordinance to this property to make sure that it was in conformance before moving forward with such a significant project. The board should not allow the petitioners to derail the construction of badly needed housing and particularly affordable ownership opportunities in the midst of the housing crisis that we find ourselves in. I won't go over everything that we went over last week. I think that was covered extensively. I do want to turn it over to the project architect to share the project plans and walk you through exactly how the various criteria of the zoning ordinance were calculated and applied to the project. So with that, I'll turn it over to Tanya.
Great, thank you.
Welcome.
Good. Good evening, Tanya Carrier, Calsa Design, 17 Ivalou, Somerville. So I have 5 very brief slides, if I can share my screen. Okay, so I've prepared these slides just to show a simple method of how we calculated some of the lot standards and worked with ISD on them. So I know that the appellant kind of went over all the actual code, so I won't repeat all that. But as a corner lot, we are allowed, as the property owner is allowed to designate the primary front setback. In this case, we've designated Bedford Street, which has an 88-foot lot length line. From there is where your additional lot standards are measured. South Street becomes our secondary front. And then the remainder can either be all sides or you can have sides and a rear. A side is any lot line other than a front or rear lot line. And a rear lot line is any lot line which is parallel to or within 45 degrees of being parallel to a front lot line, unless it is a side lot line of a abutting lot. As you saw, the 59.99 foot lot line adjacent to 16 South Street is a side lot line of the 16 South Street butter. So that one is not a rear lot line. Additionally, the 90-foot lot line is a side lot line, so that is also not a rear lot line. The 54.4 foot is a rear lot line of 16 South Street. Therefore, we have to see if it's parallel or within 45 degrees of being parallel to the front lot line. So when measured here to Bedford Street, we are at, which is our primary front lot line, 71 degrees and change from there. So we are above 45 degrees. And when measured to South Street, even though that is our secondary front, so we don't believe we have to, we also took that measurement. You are at 162 degrees, and that is therefore above 45 degrees. Additionally, it could not be parallel because it is not even coplanar. It is behind 16 South Street and not behind the our South Street front lot line. Now, the lot width diagram, you can see as our primary front is 88 feet long. We have a lot width of 88 feet. The minimum is 58 feet, so we are 30 feet above the minimum. For lot depth, there are 2 ways. You only use one of them, but we did show both just to show that we could meet it either way. It is either measured from the horizontal distance between the midpoint of the primary front lot line and the midpoint of the rear lot line, which is this first diagram. So we've measured from the primary front lot line midpoint to the midpoint of the rear lot line, which is 98.1 feet. The minimum is 90, so it's well above that. The other option, if there is no rear lot line in the project, which sometimes, often in corners, there is not, you measure from the primary midpoint of the primary front lot line to the most distant point on any other lot line. So this is clearly our most distant point on another lot line within our lot by quite a bit. So we took that measurement 100.2, so it'd be even greater than that and exceeding 90 feet. And just to illustrate the bay window, so the bay window, I know you guys asked last time to see a visual, so I provided a 3D. So the bay, this yellow area is actually within our property line. So we've chosen to provide 3 feet of additional sidewalk area within our own property. It's not on the public thoroughfare, and the bay does not go past that line. So I'll show you in plan view. It's this corner here. In fact, we are set back 1 foot from the property line. We could extend fully to that line if we were wanting to. So you can see the existing sidewalk and then our sidewalk extension, which we are doing voluntarily. It's not in the MR zone. So that just clearly shows how we are not protruding past our property line. And the last diagram is about habitable space. There is a 20-foot minimum for habitable space for ground story dwelling units. And that is measured from the facade. We have two facades, as a facade is a street facing wall. The first one from Bedford Street, we have 26.8 feet, so that exceeds 20. That is the living room, dining room, kitchen. This whole plan is open concept on this level. And on South Street, we have 23.4, which is the kitchen and this other foyer area within the unit. That's all the slides I have. I'm happy to answer questions at the end if needed.
All right. Is there, you folks all done? Valerie, you all done? Ms. Moore?
Yes, we're happy to respond
DeBasi?
to any questions you might have.
Yep. Mr. DeBasi, do you have anything you want to say yourself?
Madam Chair, thank you for your time tonight, and thank you for your time in the board's time 2 weeks ago as well. Hugo DiBiase, for the record, part of the ownership group at 10 Bedford Street LLC. I think that my attorney, Valerie Moore, and architect Tanya presented all of our information that we feel that needs to be presented tonight, along with all the other documents that we've provided to the staff planning group.
Okay. Thank you very much. Is there anyone now from the public? Emily, I'd like to open it up to the public before we do our deliberation.
Madam Chair, I'm going to share my screen with the clock while Andrew promotes anyone who would like to speak from the public.
Thank you.
This is Andrew speaking. I got a Warren Atkinson. I'll allow you to speak.
Good evening, Mr. Atkinson.
Thank you. I don't think I'm going to need 2 minutes, but thank you for 2 minutes.
What's your address, sir?
I live at 7 Bedford.
Okay, thank you.
So these constructions are happening very nearby. I was concerned about an issue that hasn't really come up, and I know we're mainly discussing the smaller lot, but I'm concerned about the larger project and safety issues. I noticed that some of the workers were out there in the pouring rain with no harness, using electric materials, and it just didn't look safe to me. We had a downpour, and they were almost skating on this flooring, which is metal, slippery. It looked slippery to me. So I was just wondering if proper safety, OSHA, I don't know the regulations. I'm not an attorney, but just as a interested party, it doesn't look as if the workers are being supervised properly. So that's our main concern for me right now.
All right, well, thank you for your input. And I'm just going to ask that the defendant, his attorneys and architect, and Mr. DiBiase, take some notes of their own tonight, especially when the neighbors come out, because that's what we're not here for that tonight. But you've heard it, jot it down. Maybe it might be something you'd like to look into. A little bit of good neighbor policy and stuff too, as well as safety. Thank you. Who's the next speaker? Next person in the public?
This is Andrew speaking. We have Rick Schneider. I'm allowing you to speak.
Mr. Schneider, your address, please, sir.
This is Andrew speaking. Rick, you are muted on your side. You need to unmute. This is Andrew speaking again. Rick, you are muted on your end.
Perhaps we should go to another person and maybe get back to Mr. Schneider.
Okay. Next we have Aaron Troy. Aaron, I'm allowing you to speak. You are muted on your end.
Good evening, Mr. Troy. Yeah, is it Aaron?
Yes, Aaron.
Oh, hi, Aaron. Could you give
Hi.
us your address for the record, please?
2 Bedford Street.
Okay, thank you. And what would you like to say?
I would just like to respond to some things that the lawyer mentioned. First of all, I thought it was interesting that she mentioned the 1 affordable unit for sale and how rare those are, considering the original plans for 16 to 20 Medford Street had multiple affordable units for sale, including 1 3-bedroom, until those plans were completely scrapped and completely changed when the developer realized they weren't going to be able to make as much profit with owned units and switch them to all rentals. Second of all, I don't think that this board should take into consideration any precedent that they may be setting. It is okay to set a new precedent if you are in the right. And if that causes problems, it's because the code was wrong or unclear in the first place, and the city should go back and fix it. That is not this committee's problem. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, please.
Was that good?
Chair Fontano, this is Andrew speaking. Rick Schneider still has his hand up, so I'm going to ask again. Rick, you are allowed to speak. You're just muted on your end.
Mr. Schneider. Can you hear us? You're muted. Okay. Anybody else?
Chair Fontano, I am seeing now Olivia Hussey. Olivia, I am allowing you to speak.
Ms. Hussey, welcome. Could I have your address for the record?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, could we have your address for the record, please?
49 College Ave.
Thank you. And what would you like to share?
I would just like to second what Aaron was saying. I do feel it is disingenuous to frame what seems like a good faith interpretation of the zoning laws as preventing affordable housing from being built, when historically lobbyists have gotten around quite a lot of requirements for affordable housing. I do see the argument made by the architect. However, the residents' interpretation seems in good faith and very well researched. That's all.
Thank you. Next, please.
Chair Fontano, this is Andrew speaking. Other than Rick Schneider with his hand still up, I am not seeing anybody else at this time.
Okay, great. All right, so the appellates fills us in. The defendant, the contractor, he's all set. Lawyers have spoken, architects. We've heard from the public. I'm going to close the public portion now of 10 Bedford Street and open it up to the board for their questions or comments. Who would like to go first on the board? And let's see, we have Ann, and we have Susan, and we have Cecia, Brian. Yes, Cecia, what would you like to say?
This is a tough case, but and I'm bringing this up for discussion with the board. One is the front lot line. Well, in the lot depth issue, the exception about, or the text about the flag lot, I wasn't entirely sure how that, in which direction that applies on this lot, though I think like for me, the lot depth issue is satisfied. But I don't know if staff have recommendations or about how that should be interpreted, in which direction the flag lot goes. So that was one point. And I think for me, the critical thing is this side yard, rear yard definition going around that the side of the property. If I go back to the text, let's see, page 29 of the zoning ordinance, that defines what a side yard is, as opposed to a rear yard. It does say, you know, it doesn't reference the primary or secondary. For a rear yard, it doesn't reference the primary or secondary front lot line. It just says a front lot line. So, you know, I'm inclined to think that that lot line behind 16 Bedford could be considered to be a rear lot line, but I would like to see what others on the zoning board think about that.
Okay, a point of information, yes, Emily, go ahead, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Through you, Emily Hutchings with the Planning, Preservation and Zoning Division. I did want to note that Nick Antanavica, the building official from ISD, is present and can speak to interpretations that were made.
Yeah, that would be good.
Thank you. That's just what I was going to make everybody aware that ISD is here tonight and would love to. Mr. Antanavica, would you please say hello? Can we see you? And Cece, I had a question. I hope you heard it. If not, you can repeat it.
Hello, Madam Chair. I apologize for not coming on screen immediately. I was actually taking an emergency call from something else going on in the city right now. And I apologize again, Madam Chair. If you could please repeat your question, I would love to answer it for you.
Okay, let me try to do more. Of, I think, rear lot line. I'm paraphrasing, I'm not reading it right now, right? It references a lot that is parallel or within 45 degrees to a lot line. It doesn't say the primary lot line or the secondary lot line or the primary and secondary. It just says a front lot line. So, you know, if that, so I would just like to hear more about your interpretation of how the lot lines were determined on this project.
So going through and while we were reviewing the project and we had looked at this on multiple occasions as we reviewed the project, looking through this because it was such a tricky lot. Going through, we saw we had the corner lots on the two front lot lines, and the way that the interpretation says is that where we're looking through it, it can be a rear or a side lot line. So we were looking at those as side lot lines.
Is there a reason for that? Like, is that consistent with how you've done it in the past, or?
Yes, through the chair, yes.
So the rear lot line definition, any lot line which is parallel or within 45 degrees of being parallel to a front lot line, unless that lot line is a side lot line for the abutting lot, which this is not. Do others on the board have any comments about that?
Ann Brockelman?
Yes, to continue on the same topic as member Cicier. When I looked at this case, I have to say I focused on ISD's letter response to the appellant's points, and that I did then focus on page 2, which is what the topic we're talking about now. It seemed like it was very up for interpretation because in every other line item, the letter was very specific about citing the zoning ordinance. But in response to number 4, this response simply says, the lot line bordering 16 South Street was determined to be a side lot line. And we started to talk a lot about how this determination is made. You know, is it typical to accept the architect's drawings as whatever they designated? And that is what we're trying to talk about now. When I looked at I think the architect's drawing is clearest with all the measurements. Sorry, my screen is very slow in populating. Can we pull that up? I'm trying to find the supplemental letter from the appellant, page. Sorry, defendant letters and materials, the page with the drawing.
What date is that?
It's the whole big set.
Yeah, 10, yeah.
Defendant letters and materials.
Was it the supplement?
No, defendant letters and materials, page 5, which has the extra explanation, which was very helpful. The drawing, it's a
Emily?
Madam Chair,
from Nutter, but it has a drawing on the last page.
Madam Chair, through you, I'm going and looking through the materials. I thought I saw Ms. Carrier's hand up, and she or Mr. DiBiase may be able to share their screen as well.
Yes,
all right, go ahead, I'm sorry.
I can share my screen if wanted to show.
Yes,
the doc-
please.
One with the extra site plan, very helpful.
Okay.
Because I have to say that my issue is with interpretation of the 45-degree angle. And yes, thank you. The angle of measurement. So if you look at the 40-foot one where South Street is,
yeah.
If you look at where 54.4 is, just by the eye, you can say, hey, that's pretty close to parallel. That's got to be under 45 degrees. And then I was surprised to see 162, because to me, that's actually 180 minus 162, which is 17 degrees, because it is pretty much parallel to the secondary front. So when I looked at this, even before we got the appellant's additional materials, which was presented today, I arrived at that 54.4 length as a rear, which again is counterintuitive because it's a boot-shaped site and everything within this lot sounds counterintuitive. But to me, I can't interpret that to be not almost parallel to be South Street. I mean, just look at it, even though it's not behind it. So that was, to me, that's the only interpretation that I disagreed from ISD's letter when we talk about not more than 45 degrees. If we did go further to say if that needed to be, is it 10 feet? if it was rear, it would have to be 10 feet. It is that stair that would need to move right in that would need to move in another 5 feet because there is 5 feet there. And how much would it impact the massing, the current massing of the building, which I know is not exactly under our purview, but that was kind of my thought exercise in seeing if we did interpret it that way, how much would the massing of the building already under construction need to change? And I always also wondered why, if it was, I guess I wished when it was a clearly non-conforming or a clearly eccentric shaped lot, subject open to interpretation. I wonder if why wasn't there more discussion on the interpretation as opposed to making the most generous interpretation to the building massing of the building. But here we are today, so that's my take on that. To me, that's the only issue. I take no exception to any of the other very clear responses in ISD letter to the appellant. Thank you.
Thank you, Ann. Who else would like to comment? You have to speak up because I can't see everybody with the screen like this now. Anybody want to speak on the board? Questions? There we go. Cece, are you happy with your answer? You understand the thinking?
I do. I
Because-
was thinking it really
Okay.
very similarly along the lines of how Anne spoke of it. I do think that is I think the rear and the side to me are flipped from how they've been designated. It doesn't, I mean, you know, it doesn't make the lot unbuildable. There's still going to be a building there. You know, it might require some reconfiguration. I think I am satisfied with the other, you know, elements of the building that it is conforming otherwise. And I do sort of want to reiterate something that came up in the last hearing, that I think the most unfortunate part of this case is that the way the lots were merged and the way it was approved by the planning board as sort of an administrative review, because it's clearly a really non-conforming lot. So.
Okay, thank you. Ann, are you happy with your answer? Can we go forward? Ann, can you hear me?
What's the question for me?
I just wanted to make sure that, did you have any more questions for ISD?
Happy to hear Mr. Antonovico likes to comment, but.
Sure. Hello.
Through the chair, the
Yeah.
one question that I thought I heard was whether or not we just take developers' assumptions when they present their plans. And the answer to that is no. I can tell you that I have made lots of friends by saying no to people a lot of times. So I can absolutely say that these plans are reviewed and scrutinized. And as the comment was said before, when we do look at these, we look at these for future decisions as well, because we know that the decisions that we are making at certain times are going to be implemented and used for our decision making in the future. So we do contemplate what future sites are going to look like. We do contemplate what other projects may come in. We also contemplate the different types of developers that we may have to encounter while we're doing these projects. So these decisions are scrutinized and they are not taken lightly. Thank you, Madam
Thank
Chair.
you very much. Thank you. Brian, do you have something you'd like to say?
I just want reassurance that the flag lot width measurement, so that is just for my understanding, is clear to me. That is only the pole or post portion. So that we're talking about, if we look at the architect's drawing again that Anne was using, lot width would be only the 40 and the 88. We can't measure anything that goes beyond those two measurements. Is that correct?
Well, through the chair, when the flag lot is, it's not correct because if there isn't a rear lot line, then you can designate the side lot line over into the corner.
Over into the point, is that what you said?
Yes, over into the point from the.
So how is that not a violation of the flag lot line provision in the ordinance? Just explain it to me.
That's if this is determined to be a flag lot. I don't believe this has been determined to be a flag lot the way that we have interpreted the codes through this.
Okay, and the reason there wasn't, even though it looks like one, is that what? What is it missing that doesn't meet that definition?
I would have to go through and review our notes as to how we made that determination.
Brian? Anything
Well-
else, Brian, you want to talk to?
Well,
Hear
now I'm
about-
learning. I thought there was a simple answer to it, which was we don't measure the point, and there are two widths that are in conformance. But now I'm worried.
Hello, Nick, inspection.
No,
Can you
I
hear- can
said
you
I would
hear
have
Brian?
to. Yeah, I would have to review my notes to look at it
Something you can do right now while we're talking?
through the
That's what we
chair.
have-
No.
No. Okay. Okay. Brian, would you, to all of us, from your point of view, so we can consider what you're saying? Again, for me especially, I want to make sure I understand it.
You're asking me to do that?
Can Tanya? Right, yes, Tanya, Brian, the inspector, can you
Yes.
maybe elaborate for us a little bit more?
Exactly. I have the definition of flag lot here from the ordinance. And it's a lot in the approximate configuration of a flagpole or signpost with the pole or post functioning as the primary as an access way to the main area of the lot from the thoroughfare, providing access. So the skinny portion would have to be coming from the thoroughfare. In this case, the skinny portion is all the way at the rear of our lot, confined within all the other lots. So
Okay.
it would be the complete opposite.
Brian,
Yes, it's fine.
okay. All right. Let's see. And it's all set, I think. Are you folks ready to vote? Four of us voting tonight, and the appellates with 4 votes. We need all 4 tonight, that's what we're working with? Yes, okay. And we'd like to, unless you don't want to go forward tonight, which time is of an essence here. Am I right? Where are we? That's that, that's that. Emily, you have any comment for me?
Through you, Madam Chair, you're correct. I believe unless the appellant would like to agree to an extension, the ZBA does need to make a decision on this evening. I would like to remind the board that for an administrative appeal to be approved for a 5-member board, there does need to be a 4/5 majority. So in this case, all 4 voting members would need to be unanimous in their decision to approve the administrative appeal. I do also want to remind the board that the appeal can be approved on any of the grounds that is discussed. So if the board finds that one of the debated zoning issues is sufficient to approve the administrative appeal, that is grounds to approve.
Okay,
Although I do strongly recommend being very specific in any motion.
Oh, yeah.
So it is clear on what grounds the appeal might be approved.
thank you. I'm gonna ask Ann and 3 of you folks to weigh in on that. Ann Brockelman. Yep.
Yes, I'm just wondering procedurally, do all members have to agree on the reason? We may or may not, I'm not sure, of approving the appeal.
Emily?
Or it should be discussed and declared.
Madam Chair, 3, I believe it's the latter.
Yes.
Should be discussed and declared.
That's what I thought. Okay. So if we were gonna go forward, what would Emily, Ian Brockelman, what would be the point that to go forward or to deny, either one? I guess I gotta ask, start with that.
For me, as I've said, I respectfully disagree with ISD's interpretation of the lot line behind 16 South Street being side. I feel that it is rear. That would be my reasoning.
Okay. So you'd be because of the rear?
And
Is that what
that
you're saying?
yes, and that is based on item number 4 of the letter in response. I don't see a date, dated April 19th, 2024.
I want to see that. Let me see where I find that. 1 second, so we can go forward. ISD response, is that it? Ian? Was it the ISD?
Yes, yes.
On our city, yeah. This was the director of inspectional services, Ian,
Yes, the letter
and it was
signed
number
by-
4, which is on page 2.
Correct.
Okay. All right, so Ian. Number 4. Page 2. Okay. All right. Yeah. How are you going? Brian, willing to speak up?
I don't have anything to add to the motion. If that's the basis on which a potential approval of the appeal is made, I don't have anything to add to that, to the elements in the motion.
I'm sorry, you broke up. So you're saying you have nothing else to say except that, so she's going with number 4, and you had your question. Is that covered in the response here at all in this letter?
No, Madam Chair, but it's actually not a part of the appellant's
Decision. Yeah,
appeal.
Okay.
So it wouldn't matter whether I wanted it to be or not.
okay,
So again, all I'm saying is that I don't find any other element of ISD's response to be questionable and therefore should be included in the motion for approval.
all right. Ann, you taking notes, please? Okay. All right, Ann, you got what Brian's saying? And Cecia? I don't think we got a final answer from you.
Well, I think I sort of second Ann's comment that and as I originally brought up, that the rear side lot line, I unfortunately do not agree with the commissioner's determination. So that
Okay.
would be the basis of my vote.
Yep, yep. So I have to ask, staff, when we go through this now, we make the presentation for the affirmative, I believe. The affirmative to uphold the administrative. Am I getting this right? Am I messing this up again?
Madam Chair, through you, I believe if the board agrees that the side rear lot line determination is the sole basis on which the administrative appeal might be approved, the motion would be to approve the administrative appeal solely on the grounds that the determination of side and rear lot lines was incorrect.
Right. And then if, so it's the sole basis, yeah, it might be, okay, to approve the, and are you writing this down for the terminology, please? And would you read it out when you're done? The administrative appeal, right? On the sole, and then how do we vote what? Yay or nay?
Madam Chair, through you, if you agree that the administrative appeal should be approved and the building commissioner's determination should be overturned on that basis of the side and rear lot lines, you would vote yay. If you disagree and believe that the building commissioner's determination should be upheld, you would vote nay.
And they have to have all 4, one way or the other. If 2 of the board members vote yay and 2 don't, what happens?
Madam Chair, through you, unless there is a unanimous vote where all board members vote to approve the administrative appeal would not pass and the building commissioner's determination would stand.
Okay, and if we vote, here we go again, you're saying we have to have all 4 for it, for the applicant, the appellate to say yes. If we say no, if we say nay, it goes to the standing stands, the decision stands. Okay.
Madam Chair, through you, correct. If any one individual votes against, then the building commissioner's determination and the issuance of the building permit would be maintained.
I don't get this stuff backwards. I'm sound so foolish, but I just don't. Okay. So I agree with the commissioner's vote, so I say nay. Right,
Madam Chair, if you agree with the building commissioner's determination,
nay.
you would vote nay.
right, okay. All right. And if you go with the appellates, it's yes. Okay, beautiful. Does anybody have a comment they want to make right now? Cece, you all set? Ann, you all set? Brian? All right. Okay, and so would you please, and we did close the public portion, even though we didn't hear from that gentleman, Rick, he never checked in, but that's closed, so all business is done. All right. Ann Brockelman, would you please make a motion?
Yes, in the matter of 10 Bedford Street, case ZP 24-000033, I make a motion to approve the administrative appeal based on the sole determination in the ISD response that the lot line bordering the rear of 16 South Street is a side lot line to 10 Bedford Street.
Okay. Second, please.
I second the motion.
Seconded by Cece Daglian. Okay. Brian Cook.
Yes,
Brian
Madam
Cook.
Chair.
Yes?
I'm sorry, were you asking me a question?
No, I'm asking you for your vote. Did
I
we
vote
make the
nay.
full motion? Excuse me, Brian, I'm sorry. And did we make the motion for the record?
Yes.
Thank you. And Cece Daglian, how do you vote?
Yay.
Yay. Okay. Brian Cook.
Nay.
Okay. Ann Brockelman.
Yes.
Susan Fontano, nay. Let the record show we have 2 for, 2 yay and 2 nay, which means the administrative appeal stays as it is. The appellate's request was denied, correct? Am I saying that right?
Madam Chair, through you, that is correct. The administrative appeal was not approved.
Right, thank you. Okay. Thank you, everybody who have participated and weighed in and interpreted what they did. Thank you. I think we're gonna take a brief intermission if we may. Do we have to vote on that? Emily, make a motion?
Madam Chair, through you, yes, and you should note the duration of the recess and when you will be returning.
Okay. We have a motion to take a recess for 10 minutes. So it's 7:57. We'll be back at 8:07, if I did the math correct. Thank you. And thanks everybody for your participation. That was a hard one in interpretation, so I appreciate it. Take your break.
We didn't have a vote.
Oh, yeah, we did. We
No,
had
no,
2 and 2.
on the motion.
Oh, vote on the break? I'm sorry, I forget about that all the time. So a motion is who's making the motion to take the break?
Chair, I make a motion to go to recess until 8:07 p.m.
Thank you. Could we have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Cece and Brian. All in favor? Cece?
Yes.
Susan, yes. Ann?
Yeah.
Brian?
Yes.
And Zach? Yes. 5 in favor of taking a break. See you soon. Bye-bye. Yes. Yes, I know.
Chair Fontano, this is Andrew speaking. You're muted on your end. I just want to confirm it's 8:08 p.m. You are muted on your end, Chair Fontano.
I did it. Oh. Let me see. Andrew, are we gonna go with 52 Elm next?
Chair Fontano, this is Andrew speaking. Yes, next on the agenda is 52 Elm Street.
Thank you. Yes, Ann.
Madam Chair, I'm going to recuse myself from 52 Elm Street. Should I go off camera until
Yes.
somebody emails me?
Yes, I want, when we start the meeting back, you can say that for the record, and then you can go out and then come back, all right?
Okay.
You got it? Okay. Cecilia, Brian, Zach, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, everybody's back here. Andrew,
Yes, Chair Fontano?
shall I call the meeting back to order?
Yes.
Okay. It's 8:10. I'm calling back to order the meeting of Zoning Board of Appeals for July 31st, 2024. I'd like our clerk, Vice Chair Ann Brockelman, you have a statement?
Yes, I would like to recuse myself from the next case, 52 Elm Street.
Thank you very much. So Ann's out. And we have Zach, Cecilia, Brian.
Chair Fontano?
Yes, sir.
As Member Brockelman was acting clerk, we will need to have someone fill her role before they can open up this hearing item. Thank you.
Okay. Is there anybody who wants to volunteer? Does anybody have any,
I'll do it.
you will. Thank you, Brian. That's what I like. Man, steps right up.
Yeah, I think you're setting a bad precedent to have an alternate serve as the temporary clerk, but I will do it.
Yeah. Where is Emily? Emily, can we do that tonight where it's a temporary thing? I believe that's the rule.
Madam Chair, through you, if there, it is permitted to have
Yeah.
an alternate be an acting clerk. They can be provided meeting by meeting. I believe when Catherine Garavaglia was on the board, she was acting clerk for several meetings in a row, although she had to be established as the acting clerk at each individual meeting because she was an alternate for quite a while as well.
Right. So do we have to vote on anything, or we just say it for the record that I'm the chair, Susan Bontano, and I'm having Brian Cook be our clerk for this case here? It's going to be the one. Yes.
Yep, Madam Chair, through you, you can designate an acting clerk as the chair.
Beautiful. All right. So at this point, I'd like to designate Brian Cook as our acting clerk for this case, which is going to be 52 Elm Street. So we're back in session. Everybody's here. The 4 of us are here. And the first case, the case 52 Elm, Mr. Cook, is a new case tonight. So could you please be so kind to open it for us? Read
Yes,
it into the
Madam
record.
Chair. Thank you. I would like to open the case of 52 Elm Street, ZP 24-000053. Stephen P. Huff seeks zoning relief from the maximum number of stories in the neighborhood residence district, which requires a hardship variance.
Thank you very much. Good evening.
This is Andrew speaking. Madam Chair, I am promoting Adam Dash and Crystal Huff as panelists.
Beautiful. Welcome, Mr. Dash. Hello.
Good evening, Madam Chair. How are you?
Very good, thank you.
Could we also promote Annika Nilsson Rips, who's the architect on the project?
Sure. Andrew, you have that?
And Annika will be driving the slides if she can be given that permission as well.
Sure.
Great. So Adam Dash, 48 Grove Street in Somerville, and I'm representing the applicants, the Huffs here. Annika Nilsson Rips from ABNR Architecture Design is also here. There she is. So 52 Elm Street is a 2 residential unit structure in the NR zone. It's in the quarter-mile transit area as well. The Huffs live in 52, and they've owned it for about 19 years. The 52A is the former storefront that is also a unit. I should note it's a corner lot, so there are only 2 abutters. The impetus for this project is for the applicants to expand the structure to bring in parents to age in place and to allow themselves to do the same when the time comes. These changes include adding an elevator for accessibility purposes, and that is the hardship that's driving our variance request tonight. This necessitates increasing the structure from 2.5 stories to 3 stories, which triggers a variance for the number of stories by 1/2 story. I should note all other non-conforming dimensional measurements are either improved or unchanged, and that there is no existing nonconformity that is exacerbated or made worse in any way. So we're really just talking about the 1/2 story as a result of the elevator and the accessible unit. Annika, can you walk through the plans and the context, and then I will explain.
Absolutely. Annika Nilsson Rips, ABNR Architecture and Design. Give me 1 second and I will share my screen. All right, so this is the proposed project. Sorry. Move you around so I can get my controls. All right, we are proposing taking the existing structure and adding a full 3rd story to it. The existing structure, as Adam said, is a 2.5 story residence with this existing non-conforming unit that goes almost up to the lot line and was formerly a commercial space, is now a residential unit. We are proposing to expand above that nonconformity and to add a 3rd floor to allow for a fully accessible floor that is accessible by elevator. So this is what it would look like from Elm Street. From Mossland.
I guess Annika, you could point at that light tan building on the right in this picture.
Yes, this is the proposed building. In the neighborhood context, this is the proposed building. And did I miss one? Yes, and then this is the proposed building. So I will come back to these as I explain further. I would like to point out that as Adam mentioned, that we did review all of the zoning. Many are unchanged, and this is a non-conforming lot and non-conforming existing building. But you will see that the blue highlighted show where we have improved or brought into compliance, and the yellow is where we are asking for that variance to go from 2.5 stories to 3 stories. In addition to this project, we have improved the green score of this lot considerably, bringing it well above the required and up towards the recommended. So this is the existing building. And here is the lot. So this is our proposed build out. Existing, this is the lot. And the footprint of this building remains largely unchanged. The main differences being that we extend this alcove to be in line with the existing rear limit of the building, and we build up above this nonconformity and over the stairs. This allows us to leave the first floor, which is the kitchen and dining room and the large bath, and then a separate unit, largely unchanged, with just an elevator added to the back corner, and make the new back entrance that is accessible by stairs, where there's currently just a windowed alcove. The second floor gets that elevator. This portion of the residence remains unchanged. We add a new primary bedroom, expand this current room, and add an office. This bathroom is not accessible and is in the center of the house and remains unchanged. The third floor is where we see the biggest changes. The elevator will provide access to the full third floor from the street level. From grade, it would add 2 bedrooms, an accessible bathroom, and an outdoor space that is, again, fully accessible, as well as an office. I want to go back briefly and just clarify why we chose the location of the elevator that we did. The center of this building would be the highest part of the existing building, which is what is needed to provide a full elevator access to the third floor. And unfortunately, that is also where there is a bulkhead and basement access to the existing basement. So that is not as desirable as using where the existing mudroom already is. Furthermore, the third floor, you can see that by putting elevator access in the center, that would make this back half of the building largely unusable for another bedroom, which would diminish the units and the density of this project, and would diminish our opportunity for daylighting. So the elevations, this would be the Elm Street elevation, the Mossland elevation, and then the 2 side elevations. We refer to this as the back, but they do classify as both side lot lines. And I just want to, and this is the condition we're looking at here, is needing a full height for that elevator. And so bringing the eaves down so that that full size door can be operational and provide a wide enough corridor to allow for wheelchair access for future residents. And this is where I will go back. We did meet with the UDC, and they had 3 recommendations. One was to diminish, to break down the roof line of the massing. So our original, come back up here, our original design had this side gable in line with the primary peak. And we brought that down so that the massing read as a smaller, more diminutive portion of the building. Additionally, they wanted views of the building in context, which I showed you, and we'll go back to that. And they wanted us to reduce the overall height. We did reduce the overall height by 1 foot, but we do feel like that elevator, to allow enough room for the structure to be sound and to allow that elevator door to fully open, we don't believe that we could bring this down much further. So again,
to what you said, the height of the side of the house though came down by 3 feet. as you were saying.
Yes, we did bring down the building, the overall height and the sides, yes. I do want to point out the context of this condition, because while this is, we are asking for a variance for stories in the NR zone, this corner, this cross section, I think is a special case in and of itself. I would point out that this property right here, right across the street from our from 52A, is not in the NR zone. This is a small business overlay, and therefore all of these buildings are not consistent with the overall context of the neighborhood. This building sits about 4 to 5 feet higher than the other side, the Massillon side of Elm Street. And you can see that the overall massing of this building is quite large and significantly larger than 52A. Looking from this direction, you see that as well. This building across Massillon, both of these buildings have corner entrances and are relatively, if not at lot line or close to zero lot line buildings, as is this one. So that is another consistency with this corner condition. You'll see as you were to come up Massillon, you would see that the overall massing fits with the overall views here. And this reads as 2 separate structures, but it is one property and one structure. And you'll see again that the height, the overall massing is not uncharacteristic to this particular corner condition. So I believe I've walked you through, and I'm happy to answer any further questions, but I will stop sharing and let Adam Dash take over.
Thank you, Annika.
Excuse me, I have a question for the architect. Do you have a picture of the rendition of where the elevator is?
Yes.
I must have missed it. I didn't see that.
Sure. Okay, so the elevator would be right here, and you can just see it. So from this view, the elevator is right on the very back. You probably can see it a little bit better.
I think the other view is better, the first one.
Yeah.
The rendering on the cover page, maybe.
Right here, this is where the elevator would be. It would provide an access at grade right here at the back, where there is the pavement, the existing pavement. And then would allow for a half-story to the first floor, elevation to the first floor, and then second and third story entrances. The owner would like to provide basement access, but before committing to that, we want to evaluate cost and have a structural engineer sign off on the application.
Thank you.
Thanks, Annika. So as you can see, this is a bit of an oddball property, and it has the former storefront. It's across this intersection from an MR3 zone. It's in the small business overlay, and it makes up one prong of a corner, which is not like the rest of the neighborhood and is its own context, apart from the buildings that are further away from it into the neighborhood itself. Being a corner parallelogram with a structure taking up most of the lot, there's no way to make this space accessible without the small half-story variance. Keep in mind that the building will be otherwise fully dimensionally compliant or improved, but the elevator adds the half-story in addition to the accessible changes to the upstairs unit. And again, no existing nonconformity is being worsened. In fact, many are being approved. The applicants bought this property, as I said, about 19 years ago, and they want to stay and bring in their extended family. And to do so requires the elevator, which can only go in the proposed location that increases the height by half-story. The variance does not cause any detriment to the public good. It meets the purpose of the NR district to allow contextual modifications to existing residential buildings and to create dwelling units for larger households. It meets the purposes of Summer Vision 2040 plan by creating an accessible unit through retrofitting existing housing stock. It also meets the Summer Vision 2040 plan by removing fossil fuel usage, increasing native plants, supporting pollinators, increasing urban density, and lowering the carbon footprint. I know Annika didn't go into a lot of the details of the sustainability of this building, but there are many, and we can certainly go into it if you like. It also meets the Summer Vision 2040 plan by fighting displacement, because this is really, if this isn't approved, basically the Huffs can't bring the parents in and then they can't live here. The applicants have responded to the UDC's comments, as Annika described, by making the massing and design changes. Keep in mind that this is proportional to the odd intersection set of buildings, the one fish, two fish, the big yellow building across the street, and then that other building to the right where there used to be the convenience store that's now condominium. That those set of buildings, that if you please take it in that context at that intersection, which is its own context, this actually fits perfectly. There's a large amount of neighboring city councilor support. I have counted up to now 19 letters of support, including 3 from councilors, including Councilor Said from the Ward 5 councilor for this location, Councilor Wilson and Councilor Emba. Former Ward 5 councilor Mark Niedergang has submitted a letter of support. And while this meeting was just beginning, I actually got emailed a letter of support from former councilor Bill White, who asked if since it came in late, if I would read his letter into the record, if the chair would allow me to read his 2 paragraphs from Bill White.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. So from William A. White Jr., 290 Revolution Drive in Somerville. I submit these comments with the background of having served for 24 years on the Somerville Board of Aldermen / City Council from 1998 through 2021. I've also been an attorney for over 43 years with extensive experience in land use litigation. During my service as an elected official, I was intimately involved in the drafting of the Somerville zoning ordinance that was enacted in 2019 through its amendment of December 9th, 2021, as well as numerous planning initiatives. One of the issues that has been of importance to me and many folks in our city was the need to allow people to age in place in Somerville, especially those with conditions that impacted their mobility. We were somewhat successful in that there are affordable housing opportunities are inclusionary. We have unfortunately been largely unsuccessful in working with the private market to convert existing housing stock, except to the extent required by federal law. I've reviewed Attorney Dash's submission, and I believe that it demonstrates that all criteria under state municipal law necessary for a variance have been met. The relief requested is necessary to accommodate the needs of seniors with mobility issues to age in place with their family. I believe that the goals expressed by the majority of the residents of our city during my service to provide housing for seniors, including those with mobility issues, and to provide housing to allow families to remain in our city, would be promoted by the granting of the variance. In my opinion, to deny this request would do violence to those valuable concerns that our residents have expressed as to the inclusive community they wish to be. William A. White, Jr. I would note that of those 19 folks also who wrote in favor, also the chair of the Somerville Commission for Persons with Disabilities wrote in favor, 6 neighbors to the property wrote in favor, and 2 members of the Somerville YIMBY group in favor. I would note that this situation is what variances are for. Therefore, as applicants meet the requirements for a variance, and as granting the half-story variance allows the applicants to stay and bring in their aging parents while not being out of context with the surrounding buildings, we ask that the board grant the requested relief. Thank you.
Thank you. Does anybody have a quick question? I'm going to go to the, who else is going to speak tonight? We open it to the public, staff?
Chair Fontano, we are having folks now raise their hands, and I can start that process if you like.
Is there any else speaking to this tonight? No?
Not from our team, no, Madam Chair.
Oh, okay. All right. So here we go. Let's open it up to the public. Let's have a few questions.
Yes, so I'm promoting an Ann Vigorito to speak.
Oh, okay.
Good evening, Madam Clerk, members of the Zoning Board of Appeals. My name is Ann Vigorito. I'm an attorney at 424 Broadway in Somerville. I actually represent Matthew and Kristen Merson. They are the owners of the property at 50 Elm Street, and they will be speaking this evening as well. Earlier today, I did submit an analysis of relative to a hardship variance. I think it would take longer than the 2 minutes, so I don't want to read it into the record. I would just highlight that. First of all, I know there are many people who did not get specific notice of this meeting and they would like to speak. So we would ask that it gets continued to a September meeting so that people can speak and be heard relative to their objection to this project. I've heard the arguments and, you know, it's going to add to the housing stock and this, that, and the other. However, the accessible unit is going to be for a family member. It's never going on the market for sale or for rent. Also, there are other ways to create an accessible unit, an elevator, which, unfortunately, the architect did not show a rendering of my client's property at 50 Elm and how much this would overshadow their property. It's our understanding there was a shadow study. It's never been shared with my client. There are various issues, and when you give my clients the opportunity to speak, they will voice those as well. But I would submit that this is not a hardship variance that should be approved. It should be continued to the September 4th meeting so other members of the community can be heard. Thank you.
Thank you.
This is Andrew speaking. Next up, we have
Yes, Andrew.
Ron Newman.
Hi, am I live?
Yes, you are. How you doing, Ron?
Okay, my name is Ron Newman. I
Got
live at,
something to say?
yes, my name is Ron Newman. I live at 18 Day Street, number 310 in Somerville, and I want to enthusiastically support this application. I would hope in the future we could modify the zoning law so that this could be done as of right and not require a hearing of this type. But it seems like this is exactly the kind of thing we want to have in Somerville, people being able to move their relatives in and create more handicapped accessibility, which will remain long after the Huffs move out for any reason. There will be an additional accessible unit in the city, and this is something we want to have more of. So I urge the board to approve this today. That is all.
Thank you very much. Next, Andrew.
This is Andrew speaking. Next, we have Bhupesh Patel. I'm allowing you to speak.
Mr. Patel, your address for the.
Hi, my name is Bhupesh Patel. I own 7 Cedar Street, which is 2 houses upwards from this property, basically right next to the large yellow house that's referred to in the renderings. I would just like to support the project wholeheartedly for 3 main reasons. One, the accessible unit is something I work on quite considerably as an architect myself. And the fact that it's for the existing residents is just as valuable as if it was a marketed unit, mainly because the existing residents eventually do pass and the unit is in existence thereafter. So it's always good to have a unit of that caliber, and how hard it is to get marketed units to actually consider putting in handicap accessible units. The second is I do understand the massing issues relative to some of the neighbors, specifically the 50 Elm Street that just was referred to by the lawyer. Because I've been very familiar with our own house, 7 Cedar Street, we do know that south is in a direction that is basically shining on 50 Elm Street when it's in the middle of the day and casting a shadow on the corner property. So I'm not sure if there's a shadow diagram that's really going to show a detriment to that property from the elevator core that is protruding further up than the existing massing. But that's just my 2 cents from the standpoint of knowing how the house is situated relative to where south is. And the third is outside of the massing issues and the fact that it's an accessible unit, that entire neighborhood is literally 4 minutes from the T. And it's a very funky neighborhood. And I was part of the zoning process relative to envisioning how we were going to zone a lot of these areas. And it was a big debate that the entire stretch of Elm Street between Star Market and when it merges with Somerville Ave on both sides would be in a zone that was much more flexible than it is currently, because of the fact that basically up and down that street, there are all sorts of demographics that would love to live there, whether it's aging in place or it's a young couple or it's graduate students, so forth, so on. So I think just having this slightly variant unit, which is accessible, is just crucial. Thank you.
Great, thank you very much. Please.
This is Andrew speaking. Next, we have Counselor Burnley Jr.
Hello, ZBA. How's it going?
Very good. How you doing tonight?
You know, just having a good old time. I wanted to just briefly give my wholehearted support for this project. The Huffs have been in really upstanding residents throughout not only their neighborhood, but all of Somerville. But aside from how they've contributed to this city, I think this is exactly the kind of project that we want to see in Somerville, to paraphrase Mr. Dash, who I'm also glad to see on this project. To be expanding green space, to be creating more accessibility, and to be allowing folks to age in place. These are all the things that we should be incentivizing and not penalizing or prohibiting or delaying, quite frankly. And I agree with Mr. Newman's points on that as well, around as of right. But I just wanted to add my voice to the choir of 19 letters of support and mark this as number 20. So thank you.
This is Andrew speaking. Next, we have Counselor Said, allowing you to speak.
Good
Hello, everyone.
evening. Hello.
I would like to speak in support of the renovation project of 52A Elm Street and my constituents' variance request. Making this property wheelchair accessible and ADA compliant will allow my constituents to have one set of their parents move into the property and live as a family. This variance will increase the height of the house in order to accommodate the elevator shaft, but I do not see that as an issue in the corner of Elm Street. My constituents have reached out months ago to me, to their neighbors, to answer questions and address any concerns. This project will increase housing accessibility in a public transit walkshed area, as it is a walking distance from Forest Station. And as a city, we have been talking about the importance of increasing housing density and accessible housing in transit areas. And I think this is a great opportunity to put that into practice. I encourage the board to approve this variance request.
Thank you.
This is Andrew speaking. Next, we have an Emily Wingate, allowing you to speak.
Miss Wingate, what's your address, please? Miss Wingate? Andrew?
This is Andrew speaking.
Can you hear me now?
There she is.
There I am. Sorry about that. 20 Mossland Street.
What is it? 20 what?
Mossland Street.
Thank you.
I just wanted to provide input and kind of echo other comments as a neighbor who's lived directly across from Crystal and Steve for the past year. I mean, first of all, like right away, they were very kind to me with offerings from the garden and any other generosity they could extend. And just on a personal note, they're very connected, obviously, with different members of the neighborhood. And I witness regularly all that they do to help strengthen their community and make Somerville a more accessible place to live and stay. Crystal and Steve did share their possible project plans previously with me. I personally take no issue with the renovations. I understand, like everyone has mentioned, you know, what what will change in terms of the height of their house to accommodate the elevator shaft, which doesn't concern me in and of itself, particularly given the reason is to increase accessibility and allow Crystal and Steve to stay in the neighborhood, as well as allow their parents to move in and age in place, not to mention also any future housemates. I know they've had applicants in the past with accessibility concerns. And as I mentioned, it's important to Crystal and Steve to be able to accommodate these needs. So as a neighbor, I support their plan. I think it's good for the family, and I think it starts to make the city a more accessible and disability-friendly place to live.
Thank you.
This is Andrew speaking. Next, we have a Max Meinhold allowing you to speak.
Mr. Meinhold?
Hello, my name is Max Meinhold. I live at 23 Elm Street, number 207. And I wanted to say I fully support this proposed variance. As someone who lives in the neighborhood and walks by here pretty often, this building, the proposal really does not change any of the setbacks. It doesn't change any of the perception of the building from the street, to the point that I did not actually regard the intersection as different in any of the rendered views. Elm Street really is not a quiet street and really is not consistently compliant with NR zoning. And I'd say it is more common in this section of Elm Street to have exceptions to NR zoning than things that comply. And the things that we are getting in this proposal are improvements to accessibility and density. It is efforts in anti-displacement. And really every part of this is in alignment with city's comprehensive plans. And anything that we can do to fight our issues of displacement, particularly in displacement in accessible units, is very important. And being in alignment with the goals of the city, I would honestly say that this variance seems to be in keeping with the intent of NR zoning. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
This is Andrew speaking. Next, we have Jeff Burns allowing you to speak.
Good evening, Mr. Burns. What's your
Hi there.
address?
Yes, my name is Jeff Burns. I live at 26 Clyde Street, number 2, in Ward 5. And I want to express my wholehearted support for this project. I go by the property all the time and know Crystal and Steve. They're a wonderful part of the neighborhood, like has been said. You know, they're trying to do a great thing here by making their home more accessible and making space for some of their family members to join them. And as was mentioned, when the time comes for the property to be someone else's home, it'll remain that much better. So I really hope that you approve their petition and approve this and grant them the relief that they need. Thank you so much and good evening.
Thank you for coming out.
This is Andrew speaking. Next, we have William White allowing you to speak.
Hello, Mr. White. Welcome.
Hello, Madam Chair. Can you hear me? I didn't know whether I was able to log in or not.
Yes, I can hear you perfectly. Thank you.
Great, long time no see, Madam Chair. As you know, when I was an elected official, it was not uncommon for me to appear before the ZBA. And as I always did then, I also want to express my thanks for the people who serve on the board, because they provide a valuable input for the public. And a lot of times folks in the community are not aware of the dedication that the members of the ZBA have. I did receive an email where it was stated that my written testimony was too late. However, I believe now that I am present during the regularly scheduled public hearing, that my testimony should be accepted. Otherwise, I'll just reread it. But I understand there's a busy schedule for the board with the next meeting that's scheduled. So in summary, as someone who has served for 24 years on the city council, I do want to reiterate the importance of this because of the fundamental values I think that we've expressed as a community. Years ago, there was, I think, on the Board of Aldermen and then the City Council, we found that there was too much of not in my backyard opposition to developments. And this is clearly one where it doesn't affect anyone really in their backyard. I mean, I know a couple of the neighbors, through their counsel have indicated that they may be objecting to it, but I think these folks should recognize, at least based on my understanding of the old zoning, the developments that took place on Elm Street up to this property would not have been allowed under the old zoning. So, you know, as a result of our moving forward, housing stock was improved, new people have been able to move into the community, and now that view is just be expanding now to help folks who are aged and with disabilities. And you know, I would really hope that the ZBA, with respect to this petition, would approve it. I want to thank you again, Madam Chair, for all the service you've provided to the community for all of these years.
Thank you, Mr. White. Nice to hear your voice. And just so you know, we did have Adam read your letter into the record. So we have it. Thank you so much for coming out.
Thank you.
This is Andrew speaking. Next, we have Councilor Scott. Councilor Scott, allowing you to speak.
Good evening, Mr. Scott.
Oh, good evening, Chair. You know, I don't think I could say it any better than my junior colleagues, and certainly not better than my senior colleague, Councilor White. But just wanted to express my wholehearted support for this and to reemphasize that this is why we have variances. You know, I've been before this board on several occasions for projects within Ward 2, where we have families just trying to enable themselves to retain homes here. And this is entirely consistent both with the intentions of the Somerville zoning ordinance and also with our policy goals. So it is definitely my hope that you'll be able to vote to approve this tonight. And I also wanted to echo, while I'm here, my gratitude for the very difficult work. You know, y'all just had a case in Ward 2, which was a very tough one to contemplate and figure out the right path forward. And I appreciate the effort of this board in adjudicating these matters. So I certainly hope that you'll be able to see fit to approve this one this evening, and appreciate your service. Thank you.
Thank you. Nice to hear from you.
Yes, ma'am.
Next.
This is Andrew speaking. Next, we have a Todd Kaplan, allowing you to speak.
Hello, this is Todd Kaplan. I live at 44 Kidder Avenue in Somerville, and my video's off, but you can hear me, I know. So I want to say that this project should be approved because it really not only embodies the direction that we need to go in, but if it is not approved, it sends a very strong signal to people that are trying to make accommodations and make their properties accessible to persons that need it. And as you all are, I'm sure, very well aware, we are an aging population. We're a population that is going to need more accessible units. And I want to applaud these homeowners for moving us in the right direction. So I wholeheartedly support it, and I thank you for your time.
Thank you.
This is Andrew speaking. Next, we have Kristen Murrison, allowing you to speak.
Hello, my name is Kristen Mearson. My husband Matt and I are the homeowners at 50 Elm Street, one of the noted two abutters to the property. And I want to start by saying thank you to everyone who is coming out and listening to testimonies. And we have a friendly relationship with Crystal and Steve, and this project puts us in an uncomfortable position of needing to object to the renovation because the plans pose significant risk to property damage and personal injury. And even though we are only one of two abutters, we are still Somerville residents, and our property needs to be considered and the impact that this renovation would have on it. We are fully empathetic of Crystal and Steve's desire to make the home more accessible, and we believe that could be done on a lower floor without the need for the elevator and the raise in stories. There's an existing ice and snow problem off the roof because our houses stand less than 5 feet apart. With this, if it were to be approved, we would have significantly higher velocity of ice and snow coming off not only the roof, but directly over our front entry, causing possible property damage or personal injury. And we're just very concerned about that, how it would affect our property value, how it would affect our homeowners insurance, how it could injure anyone on our property. Even though we very much support the idea of making the Huff home more accessible. So we are in a very uncomfortable position because we want them to be able to do a renovation. Also, if you look at the Cedar Street proposed elevation, our house is almost completely obstructed. It's a small sliver of tan. We would lose light, we would lose visibility, and it would change the neighborhood drastically.
Thank you.
This is Andrew speaking. Next, we have a Matthew Merson, allowing you to speak.
Hello, this is Matt Mearson. You just heard from my wife. I'm a direct abutter at 50 Elm Street.
Excuse me, wait 1 second. Hello, what's your name?
Matthew Mearson.
Spell your last name?
Muresan.
Okay, and Christy is your wife?
Yes.
Oh, okay, all right, you're at 50, all right. I was cutting kind of jumbled, so I just want to make sure I'm taking my notes. All right, I'm sorry, sir, please go ahead.
Thank you. I'm a direct abutter at 50 Elm Street, as we said. I've lived in Somerville for 23 years, first as a renter, then a condo owner, and now since 2020 as a homeowner. My wife, Kristen, and I empathize with the Huffs in making their home accessible to aging parents. I was recently involved in a first bedroom conversion for my aging parents' home in Ohio, something we were able to accomplish on the first floor. When we saw the latest plans 52 Elm Street and how the mock-up showed our home next to theirs, we were alarmed. Especially as seen from Cedar, our house nearly disappears. I hope to express this effect it will have from our point of view. When we moved into our home, we accepted the nature of the 52 Elm Street's existing one-story non-conforming apartment and that our houses were less than 5 feet apart. In 2020, we invested heavily renovating our home and landscaping, which we think would help improve Elm Street. We also added a second-story front porch, which offers beautiful views of Elm Street and the skies surrounding sunsets. This added to the value of our home and our quality of life in a real and meaningful way. The proposal being discussed will grow 52 Elm Street forward to the sidewalk and then up 3 stories, effectively adding an imposing wall, towering over our porch, our entry, and even our front walkway, our primary means of entering our home. We will no longer be able to see on Elm Street north of Cedar, including the pet store located right across the intersection. Vertically, since the house would be growing upward 2 stories, the change would block the sun and our view of the sky. After consulting with a real estate professional, they confirmed our house will be devalued by the expansion. And we are absolutely in favor of adding additional affordable housing to this market and allowing people to age in place. But we fail to see how this approach to expanding 52 Elms in this extreme expansion, while devaluing our home, is required to achieve these goals. We're not comfortable voicing these feelings, as my wife stated, and we regret being in this situation. Our relationship with the Huffs has always been cordial. But for all the previous reasons, we cannot support this plan as it's currently drawn and hope they can achieve their goals without affecting the quiet enjoyment of our home. Thank you.
Thank you.
This is Andrew speaking. Next, we have a Fred Berman, allowing you to speak.
Hi, Fred Berman, 25 Cherry Street, homeowner around the corner from this property. Notwithstanding the concerns just articulated, I think the importance of promoting accessibility and preventing displacement are noble aims, and would like to support the efforts that are being made to do that. And so I don't want to reiterate everything that everybody else said in support of this. So those are my comments.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Berman.
This is Andrew speaking. Next, we have a Jesse Moeller, allowing you to speak.
Hello. I'm Jesse Moeller, property owner at 42 Elm Street. And in interests of brevity, I just wanted to say that I echo many of the comments made by others in support, and I wholeheartedly support the variance request. Thank you.
Thank you.
This is Andrew speaking. Next, we have a David Fecteau, allowing you to speak.
Yes, thank you for this opportunity. I would just say I reviewed the proposal and first I'm at 48 Elm Street, which is 2 houses over from the proposed modification at 52 Elm. My only concern is that all of the accessibility could be achieved and the aging in place could also be achieved if the modifications were made to the first and or second floor, as was noted in the staff memo. And so it seemed like converting from 2.5 to 3 stories wasn't actually necessary to achieve the aging in place goals. So that's my reason for objecting.
Thank you. Next, please.
This is Andrew speaking. I am allowing a Dr. Jeffrey Brown to speak.
Hi there. My name is Jeff Brown, and I'm a homeowner of over 20 years at 46 Elm Street. I'm quite impressed with the support that has come from lots of places in Somerville. I'm actually 3 doors down from where this proposal has happened. I've not heard from the owners about this whatsoever. That's disappointing that I've not gotten that information from them, and it makes me very concerned. I've seen the pictures in the proposal that actually absolutely dwarfs any home in the area. One of the things that we have worked hard to do, as would be reflected in current pictures, you don't have current pictures provided you have old pictures provided by the architect. You would see that you have a lot of people in this neighborhood who have invested in their homes. And to veil, and that's the word I'm using specifically, veil in the idea that we're not displacing people is absolutely outrageous. I'll be very blunt about this. 4 floors accessible by elevator, a plan that includes a sauna and 3 or 2 outdoor porches. This is a home where I have to step, as I walk around them, I have to step around rebar on the sidewalks. I have to step around containers with flowers. I have to step around bricks that are piled. I am not the only one in the neighborhood that is dissatisfied and tired of living in an area where you cannot trust what your neighbors are telling you they're doing. This is my experience. I hope I'm wrong. I want to be wrong. But I do not support this, particularly this close to a neighbor who has not even approached me about what they're wanting to do and what they're wanting to change. I would encourage the architect to test her skills and her acumen in trying to find something that is clearly more accessible and requires less hardship on the rest of the neighbors. Thank you.
Thank you.
This is Andrew speaking. Next, we have a Paige Desai, allowing you to speak.
Hi, everyone. I'm at 49 Elm Street. I've been here for the last 5 years. I haven't met the Huffs, but it sounds like they're very kind people and well-liked in the city. And I'm very supportive of increasing accessibility of housing and intergenerational living. Hope one day to move my parents into my house. But I'm sympathetic to the Morrisons' concerns and wanted to echo what Mr. Fecteau said about wondering whether the Huffs might be able to accommodate their parents on the first or second floor without with this variance necessary. Also, Mr. Dash said that no existing nonconformity is exacerbated by these plans, but I noted that right now the setback is less than a foot from the street. And so I worry that by adding a couple of extra stories on top of that very minimal setback, it can contribute to a very crowded feeling on those sidewalks, which I take every day to school. I think that the team at A, B, and R seem very talented, and I think that there's ways that they can accommodate this the accessibility of this housing without necessarily impacting people in the way that's been described today. Thank you.
Thank you.
This is Andrew speaking. Next, we have a Robin Beecraft, allowing you to speak.
Hi, my name is Robin Beecraft, and I am a property owner at 48 Elm Street, Unit A. I would like to second the Murisons and David Fecto's and Jeff Brown's comments on opposing the project on the basis that the aging in place goal can be achieved without raising the height of the building. I think it's very interesting that all of the plans that were drawn up didn't really show the view of the Murisons' house, because it really does dwarf their home and will leave it very much in shadows. Additionally, my husband had submitted a letter opposing the project, but it wasn't accepted as it was submitted past the deadline. I'd like to note that he emailed the zoning board and was informed that the notification letter that this hearing was taking place was sent to the Boston address of the developer of our property, despite the fact that we've lived here for almost 3 years. And a quick search of the assessor's website showed us as the property owners. So I would request that this appeal be added to the docket of a future meeting to allow him to speak, as he is currently unable to attend tonight, or at least take his letter into consideration. Thank you.
Thank you.
This is Andrew speaking. At this time, Madam Chair, I'm not seeing anyone else with their hand raised.
Okay, good, thank you. I think for right this minute, we're going to keep the public portion open. And we, just for the record out there, a lot of you folks that spoke, a couple had some letters, but we got all the emails that the attorney had passed on to staff. So we have all those, and we have all we've been making the comments of everybody calling in. So this is very important. Thanks for participating in the process. And let's see, that's the public. Now we're going to open it up to the board for some of their questions that they might have. Let's see here. Zach Zaremba, please.
This is Zach Zaremba speaking. I appreciate everyone's comments tonight. I understand that the people who live by this property and the abutters have concerns about the height affecting their view, the light that's getting to their homes, and possibly impacting their property values. I live about 5 minutes from this intersection, so I walk by it almost daily. I agree with some of the statements made about the property that I think is at 1 Cedar across the street, the yellow property, which is about 3 stories. By adding a half story to this property, it is going to be roughly in line with the one that's across the street. This is also, I think, a fairly unique part of Somerville in that it's feels more dense than most neighborhoods around. There is a lot of traffic on Elm Street. There is a lot of traffic on Cedar and on Mossland. Anyone who's been unfortunate
Zach, you're breaking up.
So, and as the people who live on the street, I think the biggest hack to the property is that you have to live somewhere. I'm sorry.
Zach,
Can you
you're
hear me now?
breaking up. You're breaking up.
Hello?
You're breaking up, Zach. Can you
Okay,
hear
I'm
us?
speaking. Can you hear me now? I can hear
Yes.
you. Yeah.
Yep.
All right, I'm gonna turn my camera off for a second in case it's
Okay, sure.
affecting the internet. Okay.
Yeah, it does
I was
sometimes.
saying that I think that's a very busy intersection. There's a lot of traffic idling there. And I view that more as an impact to the property values personally than I do adding a half story to that property. I'm inclined to support this at this point. I am in favor of adding accessible housing to Somerville, both for the people who live there now and for the future. Unfortunately, there's always going to be sacrifice involved with these types of structures. I think the criteria that they outlined for the hardship variance is pretty sound, especially the hardship that's caused by not having their parents be able to live there right now without the accessibility of it with the elevator. In addition to it not really having a significant impact on the zoning designation or form-based zoning that Somerville conforms to. I haven't made a decision yet. I'd like to hear more about the board, but I'm leaning towards supporting it at this point. Thank you.
Thank you, Zach. Anybody else want to comment at this moment? Okay, well, I will. When I saw this, I thought it's beautiful, but it's big. And I'm a real family person. Anybody who knows me knows that. I'm living in the house I was born in, and I've gone through my parents and sisters and brothers and everything else. But when I looked at this plan, I was wondering why you're going through all this stuff and imposing on like the neighbors next door. And I know in the city it's tight. I know we listen to noises. I know we can see in windows. Next, we can see bathrooms, kitchens, bedrooms. It's the way it is. But we don't have to exasperate what's already there. And the minute I looked at this, I was thinking, gee whiz, you made a point of saying that the first floor is rented below market value. And I was thinking, gee, why don't they have the folks move right into the first floor? Do it all up, modernize it for them, nice, picture the restroom, the kitchen, the countertops, and all that stuff. Invest in that and leave the rest of the building the way it is. You folks are living up there on the second floor already. Keep that for yourself nice. And even on the first floor, it might even be nice for them to be able to go right out front if they're on the ground level or see people going by. I know I sit on my front porch and watch the traffic go by. So I was thinking of, like a few little things like that. I just thought right off the top that they brought out the point of the rent. I know they're there 19 years. I know that's a busy corner. I go by it all the time. And I think sometimes we have to not do some things if we really think they're going to affect our neighbor. We can't always just think of ourselves. I think there's a hardship variance that because of the way you want to do it, I think you could avoid the hardship variance if you went right on the first floor.
Madam Chair, could we respond to that? Because we did actually go through all of this, and the reason why it's on the third floor, we can explain if Annika could
okay.
Because there was a reason why.
Yes, hi, thank you. So let me share the plans again. First of all, I would like to address the shadow and daylighting concerns. There is not currently a formal shadow study as the neighbors believe there was. But we did not deem it necessary as this property sits north of the two abutters. So the sun is going to rise on the southeast side, which is going to cast shadows onto Mossland, and then set over on the west, which is going to cast shadows onto Elm Street. So no additional shadows will be cast on the direct abutters. Let me bring you to the existing first floor. So these two units are really nested within each other. The 52A consists of a kitchen, a living room, a bedroom, and then half a story up is 52A's bathroom. These stairs are currently about 26 inches wide and would take significant renovation to make this accessible, and furthermore would not provide multi-generational living, as the disabled aging family members would be they would require living only in these 3 rooms, whereas the Huffs would like to provide a living environment that allows multi-generational living and aging in place. I would like to point out that based on the the existing structure, the first floor is the kitchen and dining area and a large shared bath. If we were to make the first floor the accessible unit, that would require significant diminishing of the shared kitchen and dining, which for the, again, moving family members into the house would diminish the amount of shared living space. And as I had mentioned on the second floor, the existing bathroom is very tight and in the center of the building, making it harder to expand. So those were the reasons that we chose to expand the third floor, making, again, a fully accessible bathroom, 2 fully accessible bedrooms, porch, and office. In addition, the shared living spaces, which are on the second floor, would become accessible, as would the kitchen dining room. And this bathroom is not accessible, so the kitchen dining room. So it's really about creating maximum shared spaces to promote aging in place and multi-generational living, and not segregating disabled or elderly family members to a small portion of the home.
And I would also, I guess, Annika, is it safe to say that that stairway in the first floor bathroom, that stairway is, that you have to go up, it's 26 inches and it's not wide enough for a chair lift there, which requires 29 inches, is that correct? Yes, that's it, yeah. And also there, also note, going into the building from the first floor, there are 2 steps up from the street to get into the unit. And there, as you saw, the building is right up against the lot line there. There's no space to get a ramp in there. So we did, I know we did play around with this to try to see if we could do this a different way. It doesn't really work. That's why.
I would also like to point out that we have discussed with the neighbors the concerns about weather and the difference in height, and have had talked about mitigation on that side of the building, so that along the side that abuts 50 Elm, we would work with roof contractors to assess the appropriate measures and either put in snow gates or melting the appropriate melting accessories that would prevent snow and ice from going onto the neighbors.
Does this house have a basement?
It does. It is fieldstone, original billet basement. It is currently not the laundry, and mechanical is down there.
Okay, thank you. Cecia, or yeah, Zach, you had your hand up again? Zach?
Yeah, this is Zach Savimba speaking. Hopefully you can hear me. I just want to add one more comment with all due respect to Chair Fontano proposing that possibly the unit that's currently being rented below market could be used for the parents. I don't feel the zoning board should do anything to ever take away housing from Somerville. If we can maintain that housing while also adding space for the parents to live in, I think that's the
Zach, you're broken up again.
for somebody to leave right now.
There you go. You were all mumbo jumboed again. Why don't you shut your screen off, and would you mind repeating what you just said? Thank
I'm just
you.
going to repeat. Yeah, I'm just going to repeat again.
Yeah.
Okay.
Great.
I don't want to encourage taking any units off the market. That's the point that I'm making.
Awesome. I get you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Cecia or Brian, do you have a comment? Yeah, Cecia, go ahead.
I think that the goals of making the goal of making the upper unit accessible, it's a very laudable goal. And I do feel that it can be done without having to extend the elevator to the third floor. I'm concerned about the massing of the building regardless of the whatever is going on in that corner of the two streets. I am concerned for the neighbors, and I do think that you could have a really, the accessibility goals could be achieved by having the first and second floor accessible and not the third floor. You'd still have access to 4 bedrooms. Practically speaking, with all the renovation work being done, I mean, converting a bathroom to be accessible, I think, is not a big ask. And practically speaking, if you're on the first and second floor, and if someone's in a wheelchair and they have to go to the bathroom, I think taking an elevator to the third floor bathroom is probably not very practical. So you would want to have accessible bathrooms on each floor anyways. So I think the ability to have parents living with family and having access to, 2 really good floors plus the outdoor space can be achieved without a variance. So I find it difficult to support the request, particularly given the concerns of the neighbors with the mass of this building, which I think is significant.
Thank you. And Mr. Cook, do you have a comment you'd like to make, or have we made it for you?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I really have a procedural question for staff. I just want to clarify, since we only have 4 voting members for this case because of a recusal, that it requires a 4-vote majority to approve a variance. I wasn't clear on whether that was the case or whether that only applied to administrative appeals.
This is Steve Carey. If there were 3 voting members, it would need to be unanimous. Because it's 4, it would be 2/3 of the board. So in that case, you need three yeses.
Thank you.
I would say I believe we need 4 votes out of 5, whether there's 5 people or 4 people has been the way it's been. I said anyway, I think it would probably bear continuing the matter anyway. I know that some of the neighbors have requested that, and we're not, against doing that. I don't want to make neighbors feel like they're being, shoved into a corner. Although, my clients have, as you've heard, clearly met with a lot of these people. So they certainly could circle back with them and maybe continuing. It wouldn't be a bad idea. So we had a full board of 5, but I know Emily popped on, so I probably interrupted. Sorry.
Okay, so let me just say one more thing. So as of right now, the board has posed their comments, and I'm leaving the public portion open. If indeed you'd like to request a continuance to the next meeting, Adam. Is that where we're going right now?
Yeah, I think that sounds like probably the better course.
All right, so let's do this. To the clerk, we're going to leave the public, and for the record, for Steve out there, Steve Carey, we're going to leave the public portion open because there was such a lot of input between emails and, stuff like that. So I think that's a good thing. And also give us some time to digest everything, what we've heard from everybody. And per request of Adam Dash, the attorney for the case, the approval for continuance okay with us. I think we all need a little bit more time. We like, especially these hardship variances, we really like to look them over and see what's going on. So, Adam, that's okay with us. The board okay with all this? Yes?
Madam Chair, I believe we need a motion to approve a continuance.
Right, that's what I'm gonna do next. I just wanted to get a feedback where we asked for it. Okay, so, Brian, could you please make the motion for the continuance from the applicant?
I just want to make sure it is in fact the applicant who's requesting
Yes, it
the
is.
continuance.
Adam?
Yeah,
It's
it
really-
is, and I would also ask, I think Steve's gonna tell me that I'm wrong about the number of votes, and I think now that I think about it, I probably am because of the change in the law, but nevertheless, I mean, the continuance, I think, request still stands, yes.
Thank
Sure,
you.
I'd be, as a Steve Carey, the planning division, I'd be happy to confirm that in the interim in terms of voting requirements. I did want to just make clear that in terms of just want to make sure we're clear which meeting it's being continued to.
Right.
There is an August 14th meeting, and then there's also September 4th would be another option.
What did
All
you,
those days, so, soon, I mean, I would note that this is obviously, the Huffs are not wealthy people, and this, every time this goes on, we have to come and we all charge them, it gets expensive, so I know they would like to move it along, so we don't have to continue running up the bill on them. So yeah, the sooner the better. I would say, I don't know, Steve, what you think, but August 14th is fine.
Mr. Huff? You want to go with the 14th of August? Couple of weeks?
Madam Chair, yes, that would be just fine with me. We want to have some more conversations with folks before then because clearly there's feedback we haven't heard, and let's get into it.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. Adam, that's okay then. All right?
Sorry, Steve Carey in the planning division. I'm sorry to interrupt through the chair. I
Yes,
just want
sir.
to also make sure we're clear with members of the public in terms of the written testimony deadline as spelled out in the rules of policy procedure for the board. It's always noon the Friday prior to the meeting. So if we are continuing to August 14th, the written testimony deadline is August 9th at noon.
Thank you very much, Steve, for that. That's important.
Sure.
You know, it's just a little shout out there to the public. We really like to look at everything, read everything, digest it, and be as fair and loyal and true. What's good for the city, what's good for the people. So that when you get it through tonight, if you have a letter, you want to write something, write it and get it off so that staff can put it together for us, because it's a lot to digest when we get it on the other end before the next meeting. And if you have any meetings with your neighbors or whatever, you can iron out stuff, make sure they're all on board for the next meeting. So we can all talk about this, transparency and honesty and being upright, okay? So without further comment, Mr. Cook, could you please make a motion to continue?
Yes, Madam Chair. In the matter of 52 Elm Street, I move to approve the request of the applicant for a continuance to the August 14th Zoning Board of Appeals hearing.
May I have a second? Second from the board, please.
I second the motion.
Thank you, Zach. Seconded by Zach Zaremba. All in favor for August 14th, continue and say aye. Cecil?
Aye.
Susan Fontano, aye. Zach Zaremba
Aye.
and Brian Cook.
Aye.
Let the record show all four attending members of the board in the affirmative, and we'll see you guys on the 14th of August. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the
Thank you,
board.
Adam. Thank you, folks. So do we want to take a 2-minute break for anybody or ready to go forward? You want a break? All right, 2 minutes. 2 minutes. Okay, let's take could I have a motion from the floor?
I move, I move to take a 2-minute recess for the board.
Be back here at 9:30. How's that? Seconded by Cecil.
Yeah.
All in favor? Zach,
Yes.
Brian, Susan, yes, Cecil, yes.
Yes. Thank
Okay,
you.
see you back 9:30, guys.
This is Andrew speaking. Chair Fontano, you're muted on your end if you're trying to speak.
No, I was waiting to see everybody's smiling faces back. We're waiting for Cecia. And this is gonna be our last case of the night, 89 College Ave. Okay. Fine.
Madam Chair,
Yes, welcome back.
yes, would
Just
you
for
like
your,
me to continue to clerk or?
yes, Brian jumped in, he did a great job. And we're welcoming you back. So we have everybody back here. We were just still waiting on, oh, there he is, Brian's there. Good job, Brian. Thank you. Very good. And FYI, this was continued 52 where you weren't sitting in on it till August 14th.
Okay.
All right. So is everybody back? Yes. So we have 89 College Ave next. It's a new case. Oh, we got to call this back in order, right? All right. At this point, it's 9:33. Susan Fontana, the chair, Summer Zoning Board of Appeals, coming back into session. Our next case up is the last case of the evening. It's 89 College Ave. It's a new case, and it's an administrative appeal. And I'm going to ask our vice chair, who's also clerking tonight with Brian Cook, to open the case and let's get going.
Okay. The next case is 89 College Ave, ZP 24-000065. Jane B. Becker, Maren Chu, Claire E. Panano, Alan Ball, John Amaral, and Kathleen Johansson seek an administrative appeal of the building official's issuance of a building permit B 24-000749.
Thank you very much. We have here, goes up here. So good evening to 89 College Ave. Adam, whose case is this tonight?
This is Andrew speaking, Madam
I'm
Chair.
Andrew. I'm lost my mind. I'm looking at Adam. Yes.
Okay. I
Is
see
this going to be your case?
No, Emily Hutchings is the case planner. I just wanted to note that Ann Vigorito has her hand up. I know she is representing the appellant. I also wanted to bring forth, if the property owners are present and would like to be promoted, please use the raise hand feature. I know on our end, we had a Sean McCormick and I believe a Mike Libby. So I'm gonna promote them first and then ask them if the other folks who are raising their hands are a part of the property owner team. So give me a sec. Thank you.
Sure.
Good evening, Chairman Fontano and members of the Zoning Board of Appeals. Apologies, I have a request that I have two members of the opposition that both have COVID this evening. And now that it's about 9:35, they're starting to feel the effects and they're a little tired. So my thought process is, if we open it, would you be open to continuing it so that they could speak at the next meeting? It's just a concern of, it's much later than they had originally anticipated. I apologize. I mean, I look to you, Madam Chair, for your direction on that. Thank you.
So the names so you're saying that the people that are listed on this, wait a minute, let me get I want you to repeat your request. You want to continue because two people have COVID?
They are on this evening, Jane Becker and then Claire Pagnano. They're both, one is traveling and she's under the weather, but and my apologies, I had said to them, even though we were the last case, I didn't think we would be this late, and they're telling me they're kind of feeling a little under the weather, and I thought, a little more so, and I thought maybe we open it, I do have, I did send a memo and I could go through it and maybe start with that, because I do think there's going to be a lot of public commenting as well. And my fear is we may have lost some of those as well. Probably on both sides of the equation.
What about the board? I mean, it's late for us too. I mean, and we were prepared, and I thought a lot of people were coming on board. And the one big beautiful aspect of virtual is that no matter how you look and how you feel and where you are, you can usually chime in. So I don't want to make that choice for everybody. Does the board care if we continue this for next week? I mean, the next will be August 14th, right? Is the next meeting? Do I get a thumbs up or a thumbs down? Ann Brockelman?
Madam Chair, I'm just looking at the participants and I see 103.
Yeah.
Participants, so they have made time to stay with us. So I'd like to respect their time and commitment.
That's the only thing I was thinking about.
No, Madam Clerk, that's fine. I mean, it's like you said, I mean, they just were concerned, with the timing of it, but I agree, there's a lot of people here.
Can we get them on immediately? Can we get their comments immediately so they can then bow out and catch up with you later?
Sure. Whatever.
I mean, I feel bad. Maybe there's even half the people that are there this hour, they might want to hang up too and just
No,
watch
Madam,
TV.
Madam Chair.
Olympics are on.
I have one in the background.
All right. So wait, Brian, do you care? Cece, do you care?
I mean, given that it's an appeal to a building permit, I mean, and then work is going on, I think the sooner it's heard, the better.
Okay. Brian?
I agree.
Okay, me too. Zach?
I'm fine with it.
Yeah, me too. Okay. So we're gonna go forward and if you wanna
so Madam Clerk,
let them
maybe
say hi and introduce themselves and say their thing and then they can go and you can cover.
Yes, because like I said, I have a memo. I could go through it after the fact,
Yeah.
definitely move right into it. So once again, my name is Ian Vigorito. I'm an attorney at 424 Broadway, Somerville, Massachusetts. I represent the named parties appealing the building permit issued by Inspectional Services back on June 13th of 2024. I will now mute myself, shut my camera off, and allow the other, all of the applicants here to introduce themselves and say their piece. Thank you.
Great, thank you.
This is Andrew speaking. Ann Vigorito, can you please clarify the names again for me? Thank you.
Sure. So we have Jane Becker. She is the owner of the property located at 7 Francesca Avenue. Maren Chu, she is the owner of the property at 17 Kidder Avenue and 24 Francesca Avenue. Let's see. Claire Pagnano, she's the owner of the property at 11 Francesca Ave. Alan Ball, he is the owner of the property at 50 Francesca Avenue. John Amaral, he's at 90 College Avenue.
And I don't mean to interrupt. Is there a way you can email me this list? I'm sorry, I'm trying to go through this list and I can't. keep
It's in
track.
it's in my memo. So that I submitted to so you should have it.
Chair
Under the
Fontano,
notices.
can you give me a sec while I get that up? Thank you.
There's 6 parties, yes?
Yes.
Yeah, and I know why Andrew's doing this because he can't pick people. He's got to see their name.
Yeah. No, and I want to keep it simple.
Yeah. And while he's doing that, Ian, Jane Becker's is gonna speak first, and then Maren.
This is
I'm
Andrew
just
speaking.
stepping
I'm working on it. Alan Ball's not coming up on the list.
I'm stepping away to get another pen. I'm right here.
Ann Vigorito, I just want to make note of that. Kathleen.
Are you
Johnson.
saying you don't see him with his hand raised?
Oh, there's Alan. Okay, there you go. Someone else must have got him on my on staff side. Okay, that's great. I believe
Okay, I thought these were all dead.
I'm not finding Kathleen Johnson unless she's coming. She is listed as her name's different on here, which may be the case. That's not Kathleen Seward, if anyone can recall, right? Okay, thank you. I just want to make sure.
Johansson.
Yes, yeah. I'm not seeing